Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Midnight Festival podcast, a late-night talk show focused around the discussion and analysis of video games and related media. I am Jay, your first of three hosts tonight.
I'm Kay, second of three hosts.
And I'm C, the third of three hosts.
And tonight we got a big ol' bite to take out of a humongous game that many people have been very hyped for quite a while. And it remains to be seen whether we bit off a little more than we can chew or not.
I'm already rubbing my forehead, just thinking about it.
We have quite a gig here.
We got quite a gig, quite a side job.
What a great start already.
Yeah, this game is Cyberpunk 2077. I'm very sure that if you're a video gamer of any capacity, I'm sure you've heard of it in passing even, or you've been one of the people following it for a long time. And as probably everyone knows, it's a very controversial experience. Not the game itself, but just the mythos surrounding the game's development and the release of the game has all kind of culminated in this big, huge, ongoing controversy.
It's a mess. It's a big mess, and playing the game, you can see it. You don't even have to know about it, but you can feel it by playing it, that something was very wrong when they were making this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an early access kind of game.
Yeah, it feels earlier than early access.
It's kind of like, it seems like they kind of made the game in inside of a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And the whole world was just expecting this masterpiece to come out of it. But it's got quite a few. How do you say it? How could you even express what's going on with the game?
Problems.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything simpler than that.
There's a lot of aspects to examine. This is the first time I think in the podcast so far where we're going to be talking about stuff outside of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, it's very important to talk about it. Like the crunch, the release, the botched PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions that can barely run. The fact that Sony removed it from the store, all this stuff is just pretty insane stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because the game came out just a month ago, right?
Yeah, a AAA title at that, removed from a game marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, and it still sold like hotcakes. Had the highest concurrent, broke the record for highest concurrent players of a single player game on Steam.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was had lots of people playing.
Here, I have a question. Walk me through, because I'm the guy, and maybe Kay is as well, that not knowing anything about the game until it was coming out earlier, halfway through 2020. So this game was announced years ago.
I think it was in 2012 or 2013. I'm looking here just to verify. The game was announced during a 2012 CD Projekt Red conference.
Whoa! What?
So
oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
It's been cooking. It's been cooking in that pressure cooker for a long time.
Which is even more surprising in a way until you factor in later events.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in between E3 last year and 2012? What else happened? Because you were...
Boy, who even knows?
I mean, you'd have to be a game developer to know what's going on behind closed doors in a factory like that.
The point I'm making is this game was in this pressure cooker and everyone was starving for it. It was surreal, the amount of hype leading up to it.
It was really surreal. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, because a lot of people expected it was going to be a game-changing experience, a big monumental, immersive sim in this cyberpunk world.
People were hoping for Skyrim 2077, essentially.
They kind of did. They got.
I think they got Skyrim, but they were so hyped for it, and then it got delayed a bunch of times. I think CDPR said they promised we're not crunching this game, They have had a high reputation because they made the Witcher series and everyone loved that. And I think they've done some other stuff, but I don't know what it was. But
Gwent,
Gwent, which
Yep.
is just another Witcher.
the Witcher card game.
It got pushed back. I'm sure they got a bazillion death threats, like any righteous gamer probably would have expected. And then they finally released it, December 2020.
After a handful of delays.
A handful of delays. And then everything else that came out, the fallout.
I'm going to come out and say this game needed another year, but they just couldn't do it. I think I'm assuming that there's some sort of exterior, shareholder influence in there pushing the game to be released before Christmas,
Yeah.
When you say that, are you talking specifically because of like software issues with the game, or are you talking about like issues within like the story of the game or the dynamic of how the game plays?
Just the performance and the bugs and just, smoothing everything out. I think that what they have is fine. They needed more time to polish things and maybe add a couple like minor features. But I mean, there's some things in those trailers, like the E3 gameplay trailer that they had as features in the game, like wall running and hacking from far away with your little mono wire. You could hack into things from a distance. I guess there's a bunch of things that they showed off in that trailer that didn't make it into the full game. And I can't help but wonder if eventually they will be in the form of patches or DLC. Or, if it was just thrown to the cutting room floor because they were like, there's no time to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably part of it. And like the level of glitches in the game is just probably the single thing that stands out the most about what the game's lacking. It seems like they didn't comb it very much at all. Like, did they have any beta testers come in and just play through the game and see if they had issues before they had to send it live?
There's some sneaky things that the PR reps did. Like giving early review copies to reviewers, but they could only play it on PC. And then for their footage, they could only use B-roll footage from the trailers. You couldn't record your own footage and use it as a review before the game came out.
I think you were limited to like 15 hours of gameplay or something, or the amount of content that was available in their copies.
I thought that it was the full game for the review.
Okay,
like
well,
the day one reviews.
There
But
wasn't too
you
much
couldn't
time for them to get into it.
Yeah.
So it's a whole nightmare, almost strategically designed to be as sneaky as possible. I mean, we were all we benefited from the PC release, all of us, which is far and away the most stable, best, most polished version of the game. And then all of that shit with the console versions.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind would have ever released it like that unless they were just trying to be insincere, trying to steal money from people who didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I just wonder about I feel bad for the developers of the game.
Yeah.
Like the actual team developing it, because you know that, I mean, just from looking at their past games, they obviously feel there's a lot of care and a lot of work put into all their games. Even in this game, there's a lot of things hidden all around. But they just didn't have the time that they needed because I think they bit off a little bit more than they could chew, with the scope of the world and everything.
Yeah.
And they just were running out of time. I'm guessing they were like, look, man, we need to make some money, put this game out in its current state, and we'll roll with the punches. We'll get it taken off the Sony online store.
And even though it just needed a little bit of surface polish to just make everything
I think it
run
needed
so
a
much
lot.
smoother. Okay, yeah, maybe a lot of surface polish, but yeah, that seems like all the issues that they were having seem like, issues that you should be able to fix if you're a halfway decent game studio, which they are. I mean, when I beat the game earlier, I just saw that list of credits going on and on and on forever. And that just goes to show how huge of a team put something like this together. But somehow it was overlooked, all these issues. And you guys made a good point earlier that the PC version, which is pretty much like the least relied upon version for sales, or the least stable for sales, would be essentially the only playable version of the game. And
In
then
some
that one
ways.
had been given like the least attention too.
Well, sales wise, I think this PC one was the best because they release it through their GOG. I know a lot of people bought it through Good Old Games too,
All right.
right? But
Not sure. But
I guess
yeah,
I haven't
think that
looked.
they
I haven't
own
seen the
GOG.
sales.
Well,
I haven't seen the sales numbers.
I
but-
just feel like consoles typically outperform games like this in general when they're offered on all three platforms. The two
Yeah, that's
consoles
very
together
true.
would outperform anything in the PC spectrum. So I figure that's the reason potentially that the PC version was left in such a state.
Well, the PC version had the best treatment at the end of the day.
I guess
Yeah,
so.
the PC.
But-
At this point where they are at right now, they are kind of like, okay, PC version is somewhat stable, but the PlayStation 4 version and Xbox One version are not. So they're like putting all the support for the PC and stuff like on pause, I think, while they work on this big patch to try and iron out a lot of PS4 issues.
And to be honest, all the stuff that we're talking about right now might just be a few patches away from being ironed out, and then the game could just be totally perfect, and pretty much none of this could even be a factor in the near future. But
Like
as of now, the game is not in a very good state.
Yeah, people use The Witcher 3 as a baseline, because CDPR worked on that game too, and apparently that released with tons of bugs, just like this game. But now those are all ironed out. Those don't even exist anymore. Everyone lauds Witcher 3 as like a masterpiece of games. So,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe eventually Cyberpunk will be able to stand on its own. But for now, there's a lot of things that just kind of like break the experience a little bit.
Totally. Like,
And-
I think especially like with coming from The Witcher 3, which is just such an acclaimed classical piece of gaming at this point. Everyone is just expecting a miracle from this production studio, and I think everyone is just kind of shocked to see what they actually put out for a release.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You can't. There's no way that a bunch of people, the people who were coding this game, designing the mechanics and putting everything together, said, "Yep, we're done. Let's push it out." There's no way that
Yeah.
they did that. It's
No.
clearly the decision of people like shareholders,
Outside influence.
outside of the purview of who is actually putting this game together. So
Yeah, I heard the board of directors, like developers were mad at the board of directors or something like that, like of CDPR. All that stuff. It's just interesting. A lot of moving parts.
it's
Yeah,
a shame.
you
It's
think
a big
that-
shame.
yeah, you think that hype would do nothing but good for a game, right? Just making sure that
Yeah.
it gets out and gets into people's
press is
consoles
good
and
press.
played. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people are scared of this game right now.
I think gamer hype is not good because
Yeah.
gamers are fucked.
Yeah. The whole death threat thing is always people threatening, "We want this game now. Stop delaying it." And then
Okay, here.
And then they play the reverse card when it comes out, and then it's not to satisfaction.
It's unfortunate.
yeah, that's some entitlement. Even though I can't say for sure how much influence the actual gamers had, the ones that were crying out for
yeah.
the game to come out. I don't expect that much, but I don't know.
Maybe this is all sort of a performance piece on about like showcasing, highlighting the cyberpunk genre.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's a big corporation, working mechanically, working its employees to the bone, all to turn a profit at the end of the day.
Maybe
And,
maybe the glitches are an in-game Easter egg to just show you the
Yeah.
silliness of what futuristic
The
glitches
glitches
and
are
personal
canon.
technology would
There's
be
some. I got some theories. I got some headcanons, some theories floating around about that, for sure.
Well, remember that article we read too of Hades, which had come out over a year ago, I think, at this point. And that was them saying we force you to take vacation time because people who are being crunched to make, anything, even more than games. If you are being excessively worked, your body and your mental state are taxed. You're not going to put out your best work. You're going to be working worse. You're going to be doing worse quality of work.
Yep.
And it's like a diminishing returns, but even more so. I don't know what could possibly be higher than that. It really shows, I think, that these guys probably needed more time off.
It's a total dichotomy. We got to see in the last podcast, Hades, a game where the team is perfect. They're fresh the whole time. They're making good content as they go.
Yeah.
Versus a team that knows that they're running a little bit behind.
They're
No
like
matter-
opposites, dude. The total opposite games in terms of level of polish and cohesion in just the design of everything into one game, one product.
To be honest, I don't think I personally witnessed or saw a single bug in all of Hades my whole time playing it through.
Yeah,
I can't think
I
of
did
one
either.
time where I saw a visual glitch or an audio glitch or anything.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I mean, they are completely different like games. There's a huge variance in scope between those two games.
Cyberpunk
Yeah, that
is
is
an open
true.
world, and that's just begging for there. There's going
so
to be
many chances for that.
some issues, right? I think everyone was expecting some like Bethesda bullshit in this game, but we got even more than we were asking for.
What have been your guys' funniest glitches?
I can't begin. I cannot. My list.
Give me a top like 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's funny that you have a pool. Like, give me your top 10 funniest glitches, because you know that we've seen at least 10.
If you look through my screenshots that I've taken hundreds of screenshots for this game because, good camera in the game. I'll give it that. There's a cool camera
hell
feature,
yeah.
so you can
Camera
take good
mode's
pics.
great.
The game looks good. And then it's really funny because you can use that camera to take pictures of these fucked up glitches that are happening all the time. My car got stuck in the ground and in buildings and walls all the time, constantly. I would turn around and there's my car halfway through the earth itself.
I have a funny segment. This is real here. These are the daily occurrences in Night City. Every day this stuff happens to everyone. Every day you got car rain. Cars will rain from the sky. It's just normal. Objects explode into millions of pieces when you bump into them.
Oh my god,
That's just a regular thing that happens to just everyone.
And it's so loud and no one will hear it.
Yep.
If this is all canon stuff in the game.
This is all canon. Yeah, this is all in the world. Yeah,
This is what Cyberpunk actually means.
You got Night City residents ducking and cowering in fear when someone jumps over a railing or like a trash can or something. People, as a funny joke, they like to just T-pose and glide around. People also, as a joke, like to just stand up in their car, like through the roof.
I didn't write any of this stuff down because it was so common that I was like, yeah, who wouldn't see this?
Instead of like game-breaking bugs, I thought, these are just the things I see every day, and it's become normalcy. And this is just how Night City is.
Yeah, the vehicular T-posing is the most hilarious thing to me because for whatever reason, my character would do it naked. So I'd be just riding my motorcycle through Night City, and all of a sudden I'm naked and T-posing on the back of my motorcycle, just cruising through the streets. Just racking up street cred like crazy.
Grinding it out. That guy, holy...
Everyone learned who Kay was very quickly as he was gliding around the streets naked on his motorcycle with his T-pose.
Did you see that pose?
Everyone goes,
Yeah, that was
"There's that
Kay.
guy. That's Kay. Did you see his impressive cock? He's got an impressive cock."
Please,
Yep.
please, it's moderate at best.
Oh man, too modest.
Yeah, though, like, there were so many, for all that stuff, all that crap, all those issues, my game never crashed. So I could give props to that. My game never crashed.
Oh, that's
or
lucky.
anything. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty lucky of you.
No,
Yep.
I think it's more skill based. It might be user error that yours crashed, maybe.
Mine,
Okay.
I made the mistake of alt tabbing out of my game several times, and a few weeks ago, before a few patches ago, I should say.
I think there's only been like one or two.
Oh, okay. Well, a couple weeks ago, in that case, like my game would just crash if I alt tabbed from it.
Mm.
So I'd always
I-
have to
I
save
was alt
before I
tabbing a
alt
lot.
tabbed.
I alt tabbed a lot, but yeah, I learned to hit that quick save button at least once every 5 minutes before something insane happens. And my game
Yep.
crashed probably like 5 times, which is surprising considering everything else and the amount of time I put in.
By the way, just for posterity's sake, we are currently playing on patch 1.05.
Yeah, I think that was the only like real patch, right, since the game came out. And then there's
I
like
thought
two hot
1.5
fixes.
was a hot fix. 1.4, I think, was a bigger one.
Okay, yeah, and then it was just a hot fix because there was the game could only have a certain file size before
Yeah.
it would just corrupt your save and you could not fix it.
Yeah,
Oh my
I think
God.
that's what .05 was a fix for that.
Yeah, that was insane. I just stopped playing the game for a while when I heard
Yeah.
that was an issue.
Yeah,
That sounds so frustrating. Like, and here's another thing. Like, I think both me and Jay had to upgrade our computers just to be able to play this game.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe not just to play the game.
Just for Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah,
It was definitely certainly a plus where I was like, I want to play this game and just have it at a good, solid, steady frame rate. You know, I don't want to have to struggle against the performance. And I was like aiming to get a 3070 anyway, so it was like, might as well just hit two birds with one stone.
yeah.
And you know,
Back on my 1070, I would not have been able to play this game on my
Yeah.
1070. It would have just been way too clunky.
hmm
So
my first like couple sessions playing that game with my 1080, which is what you have, see.
Yeah.
It was, I feel like half of my game time was just like tabbing into the settings and just like changing settings constantly, and it was all for nothing because you know they would be fine for a second and then all of a sudden you'd get into a new area and it would just clug down, it would chug down to
It
a
would
stop.
clug, big
Oh.
clug.
It would be clugging, dude.
Yeah.
clog.
It felt, with all the bugs and performance things, it was kind of like a struggle against the game to like
Yeah.
enjoy it and get immersed into it. It felt like a battle. You had,
Yeah,
to,
the
you had to
first-
fight sometimes.
The first 5 to 10 hours of game time is a lot of just juggling your settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a lesser card.
But once I got that 3070, I was running on the highest settings. No ray tracing or anything, but I was always at a stable 60. I'd sometimes fall down to like 55 or something, but
Even on a 3070, yeah. See, that
Yeah.
I think is an issue
it
with
is.
the game's
It certainly is.
optimization.
Yeah.
Because it looks pretty, but I would never expect this game. I don't know what it does that is more intensive compared to another modern game that would really cause a GPU to struggle so much.
Yeah,
Right?
I
I
always
mean,
think of Red
thi-
Dead.
Or,
too.
or like Grand Theft
Mhm.
Auto would be another good example. Like it's very similar in structure. Like there's just so
Yeah.
many like sprites loaded onto the screen at one point in time.
GTA 5 at least though has the benefit of being really old at this point.
Yeah.
So the resolution of textures would be lower. The amount of polygons in a model is lower. There's less to handle. But then I agree with Jay. Red Dead 2, that game I thought was going to just tank my 1080. You know, never run stable. That game ran great. I'm really surprised how well that game
It
ran.
runs very well.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously it's not as densely populated and whatnot, but just the fidelity of the graphics are immense
Yep.
in Red Dead 2. So it's an interesting comparison for sure. I don't know. I'm hoping that the performance gets ironed out because that's not. People have said it's the Skyrim. It's the Skyrim of our generation because it's
I
bugs
agree.
game, and then it's also the Crisis of our generation because you need a massive, humongous server rig to run it stable.
Yeah.
You know, you need like a You need
you need a computer.
battleship.
You need a computer from 2077 to run it.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a brain dance, this whole game.
Oh wow!
Exactly.
I'd say on a 1080 with an i7, it was if I average all of my game time FPS, including indoor and outdoor, 40 to 50 FPS average.
Yeesh.
It would be my guess. Not stable at all.
That's a lot more than my 1080 was able to get. Mine just slowed down so hard.
Yeah, I seem to be almost lucky in comparison. Like even the early hours, I just wasn't seeing as much of an issue between some of us that were comparing.
That's right. I was having a lot more trouble than you. You were like saying it wasn't a big issue, and I was like, dude, what?
Yeah,
what?
You know, there's like 2 or 3 specific areas in the entire game that I remember I would go to, and I'm like, holy shit, this is 30 FPS. What's happening?
Kabuki.
Like a
I bet Kabuki was one of them.
I bet Kabuki was one. Amidst all the stalls and all the people mingling about, so much stuff going on. It would tank to 30s, and you'd be lucky to get that on a console, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, consoles. Yeah, I've seen what it looks like on Xbox, and it's like blob people, just smoothed out with different colors and
You
like
gotta
to
get
represent
the
a
latest
hat.
tech.
Yeah.
You need the PS5
Yep. Absolutely.
and the Xbox X, Series X, Xbox X.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that. I mean, back when they announced the game, it was supposed to be on PS4 and Xbox One, and I feel like they were like obligated at that point, probably contractually, to make a game for those systems too, those consoles, but they just couldn't hack it.
Yeah, I wonder if that had to do with the release window. Is PS5 coming out? You know, PS4 is going bye-bye, and they have to release it for that. And it was just that was the Goldilocks zone for them to release it. They had just delayed it too many times, and it was no other choice.
That's interesting. Yeah, what a swan song, huh? What a swan song for the PS4 to just showcase its power. I think back to PS3, the swan song for that, Last of Us.
Wow.
Yeah, they
Can't
took
believe
advantage
that
of the
came out
hardware.
on PS3.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they immediately remastered it for PS4.
Yep. Yeah, very interesting. I don't know, man. There must be so much behind the scenes that we just have no idea about.
Yeah, I'm not like massively in touch with the how coding works, how optimization works. So really a lot of speculation on my part.
But yeah, it was impossible. It was impossible sometimes to get. I mean, when I play games, I really like to get immersed and try and live my time in whatever game.
This game wants that from you too.
And this game wants, it's like it desperately wants you to get immersed. And sometimes it would just be like, it would click and it would just be like so fluid and I wouldn't even notice. It would just be like nice. And then the second that all of a sudden, like, I look at a gun on the ground and the description of the gun is there on my screen, and then I look away and it's just still there. And I look back and it's still there, and I go, what? And then I'm like talking to Pan Am, and then I'm like dying from the relic and talking to Pan Am, and she's like, oh my god, are you okay? And this gun is just always on the screen, and I'm just like, I can't. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to feel?
Just pain.
Yeah, that was a major struggle. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like, sometimes just losing like progress or just having to redo some difficult fight, because as soon as the fight was done, you jumped onto like some like file cabinet, and then and you somehow just glitched straight through the surface of the file cabinet, and your feet get stuck in it, and then you start taking damage because you phased out of reality and into another object, and then you just fall over and flatline because you jumped onto an item.
Yeah, your momentum was like crazy.
You guys ever hear about Kay? Yeah, the guy who would T-pose around naked. Yeah, supposedly he got zeroed by a file cabinet. Maybe he's not that cool after all.
I remember carrying a body one time, and I'm like, oh, hey, there's a spot to dump it. And I'm like, I can't put it in. I realize it's like facing sideways towards a wall. And I'm like, okay, I'll just peek around and see if I can dump it in there. This is going to be a bad idea. So I do, but to get in front of it, it puts your character in front of it, which happened to be inside of a wall. So then I was just stuck in the wall.
Yes.
Wow.
That really is just common. That is Night City. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. McKendry, my friend and also roommate McKendry said there was an enemy netrunner who is trying to hack V and just make V just trip out. So there's an enemy netrunner who's just constantly like making things harder for you.
Wow.
And that's canon.
That's the canon.
Or,
glitches.
it can be looked at as though it's the relic, like messing with your brain, your synapses, The relic is in your brain, rewriting things.
Yeah.
You're seeing all these crazy things. It's really brilliant cover up.
All of a sudden you're outside the map. You don't know how you got there, but you can't get back in. You can't squeeze through some little hole that would bring you back to the map. And that's all canon. That's just what's going on in your head.
That's Night City. It's V and Night City.
And V says, oh, wait, that's right. This must be a video game. Opens up the pause menu, hits load game, resets themselves back further in the timeline before they could recall they were in a video game into a safer point in time before they were hacked.
There's also some time traveling kind of stuff going on, especially, it's confirmed essentially in the story. Which we will get to eventually.
And
but there's some time travel aspects.
If you've ever wondered what V stands for, it stands for video game.
Yeah.
Because he's in a video game, and he realizes
Whoa. He?
V.
He, though?
V.
Yeah, he. They.
No.
They. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
They? Okay, yeah, that applies.
I guess I'll say they can work. I guess not he though.
That's true.
Yeah, my notes say she.
Yep. Me
Wait,
too.
I thought I saw screenshots. One of you had a male sprite, a
Wrong.
male V.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Over and out.
What? Okay.
Maybe.
Interesting.
Maybe you saw someone else's. Maybe you saw someone else's screenshots because I
Yeah,
have
I think
a very
V's a girl.
cute cyber ninja hacker girl. So I don't know what you want from me, but
You ever walk around and V is responding to someone with just a casual line of dialogue, and then the relic kicks in, and it's so painful that V talks over themselves and
goes,
screams,
"Shit!
Fuck!"
Yeah.
while they're already talking.
Yeah.
I can't wait until you can speak to multiple people in multiple ways at once.
I was doing that when I was running the ending, doing the ending grind a little bit. When you had to, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, I was trying to activate, because I know I had to talk to these two people, so I went and talked to them both, and both of their lines were going at the same time, and I would just run back and forth and respond to them real fast as I was.
Yeah, I've had that happen a few times, and I shared that picture earlier where I tried to call someone for a quest, and two different characters picked up at the same time. They were both moving around in the frame, and if I chose one person's option, the other person would just choose one of their options at random too. And if I hung up on one, it would hang up on both. It was so fucked up.
That's
Oh
so
my
good, dude. The
God.
calling was so fucked. I
Yeah.
hated the phone thing the most. I hated the phone.
The
I wish I
phone
could
was
just-
dumb.
Yeah.
I wish the side quest thing, when they call you every single time, like when you get up to a side quest, and they like tell you this like 3-sentence long reason why you have to go and kill everyone every time. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't they just then they go texting you the details, and then I'm like, just do that. Just
Yeah.
text me the fucking details of the quest.
And
next
while
time.
they're calling you, you can't refuse to. There's an option to pick up the phone, but it's not an option because you'll pick
They'll
up
just-
anyway.
yeah, you'll pick it
and
up.
then half of your like options of what you can do while they're on the phone are you can't do that. You can't grapple people for stealth. You can't do your double jump if you have that.
yeah.
Wow.
You can't even fast forward their dialogue too.
Yeah.
You can't fast forward it like you can in other things.
Thank God
It's
you
so-
can fast forward anyone's dialogue. To be honest.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah, and
There's gotta look at the positives.
It's only when you don't want to. It's only like in main story things, it seems like. I want to do it for these side things that don't matter, you know?
I remember
Come on.
I was so annoyed. I had this huge drive to do at one point, and I was just so annoyed at this text message that had appeared on my screen. I just didn't want to answer it, and I just left it there forever. And then I realized it wouldn't go away unless I didn't answer it. So then I answered the text message and closed out of it, but then the message just glitched and stayed on my screen. While I'm driving down the road, it's taking up half my visual spectrum.
A text message?
Yeah, just stuck on my screen.
Is it okay? So are you saying subtitles or an actual phone text?
Like a phone text where they're
Okay,
like, hey V, got another job for you.
I had a subtitle from Johnny where he said something to me, and then I didn't think about it, I guess, because I was doing a mission and I just drove away. And then I fast traveled to the other side of the map, and it's still there, like the subtitle, what he said. And when I get there, he repeats it. And I'm like, what the hell?
I've had that where I drive halfway across this, like I'm in the Badlands and I look towards Night City and there's just this little tiny subtitle that says ... question mark. And I'm like, what is that?
This was like a whole line of dialogue, though. I saved the game, load it, still there. He says it as soon as I load the game. I quit the game, I restart my computer, it's still there. I had to go back to where he first said it to make it trigger properly to go away.
That's so good.
So I had to remember where the hell it was in the middle of the desert. It was ridiculous.
Common occurrences in Night City, floating lines of text.
One time I had to Control-Alt-Delete out of my game because it was so badly glitched on me and just frozen up. And there was just this really loud music going from a nightclub, just pounding music from it. I exit out the game with my task manager, and then I'm in my desktop after ending the process of the game, and the music is still going on my desktop. I restart my computer.
You never leave Night
City. Once I restarted my computer, it went away. But that's just, you can't escape it. You can't escape Night City. And there's kind of one other extremely funny glitch that happened for me, but it involves the plot, so I have to talk about that later.
Yeah, there's so many insane, but literally every 5 minutes at most before something would happen that was either game breaking or just distracting. There's so much shit. I couldn't list them off this whole cast, so unless it's pertinent, I'm not even going to go on about these anymore.
Yeah, I had only one bug in a story mission that like I couldn't progress the story. Like it barred my progress and I had to go back. Otherwise, it was mostly just immersion breaking stuff for me.
I had lots that broke quests.
That happened to me once as well. This other glitch didn't have anything to do with making me reload or anything or have to do stuff over again. It's just like an absolutely hilarious thing happened during like one of the most critical moments of the story, or like most dramatic points in the entire plot. And it just totally took the immersion out.
It's good.
in the most hilarious of ways.
All right, we'll get to that when we talk about some other things, but definitely, I mean, it just sucks. It just is a shame that
this is a bug glitch game.
Yeah.
I really wish, in a way, because we signed up for this, we all bought in to do this just as part of this project, this podcast, before we could ever know about this. So we're kind of on the ground floor. I didn't want to play this game after like a few hours into it when I saw how bad it was. Holy shit. It really never ends.
Yeah, like especially when I had my old graphics card, I just played it for 15 minutes and I realized that I could not physically play this game at that frame rate. So I had to wait like 2 weeks before I finally got my new card in, and at that point you guys had already talked about so many glitches in the game that I was just afraid to come back to it too. So
it's part of the game in its current state.
Yeah. It's a shame. Like, you know, it would have been in an ideal world, you know, I mean, it would have been nice to experience it in a more completed state, but this is the state that the game is released in. So it's like, and you know, we're covering it. We have to experience it like this, you know, to cover it in the most effective way.
this is 1.0. It'll be remembered forever because plenty of other games are in this state at some point, assuredly, right? But they're still in development. They don't release it to the public. This is the 1.0 of the game.
Yeah. And like, something like Skyrim is well known for its bugs upon release, like all the funny things you can do, but this is probably the most egregious example I've seen of bugs and stuff. It's very, very bad, and it's very distracting, but
and it's universal experience. Everyone who plays the game experiences.
Yeah, I remember seeing people online saying this game's perfect. Nothing happens to me. Liars. If you said that, you're a liar.
Yeah, I agree. There's absolutely no way. There's no way that you don't have any performance problems, any bugs that are distracting. Unless you're a fucking smooth brain who just inhales media, like you're probably watching The Office for like the 10th time, kind of like person. You know what I mean? Like,
what a direct
go do something else. You know,
dude, I've watched The Office 10 times.
You actually sat down and watched it, or just had it on?
I'm not gonna answer that.
Okay,
that was a direct attack upon me.
I just like
Legend of the Afterlife.
I just like
Legend of Night City.
I just like to hear the intro to The Office. That's why I watch it so many times.
I just think like, this is a side note, okay? But everyone, look, man, The Office, fans of The Office are like the worst kind of people. It's like, because it's a show, it's a TV show. You don't have to watch it like 15 times. Like, dude, like people start watching it again when it's done, when they're done.
Oh yeah, jump right back in it.
There's so much other thing. There's so many things out there.
Yeah, for real, I've probably watched the show like 3 times to the point where I'm comfortable and I'm like, okay, I'm done again. But it's like years between that. But it's just funny that the people who inhale Cyberpunk and say nothing's wrong with it have to be these Office people.
Because they don't see a problem with watching the same content over and over and over again. They probably don't have any sort of like way to verify if something looks fucked up because they're just staring at the same thing all the time. So you see Cyberpunk, you see these bugs and glitches.
Desensitized.
Yeah.
Wait a minute though. Jay, how many times have you watched Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Okay. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go.
Probably not a lot.
Like 10 times in a row, I remember.
No, the show I've probably only watched that under 5 times. Now the movie End of Evangelion, like probably nearing 20 times.
I think it's more telling that you've watched through Neon Genesis Evangelion like 5 times max, all the way through.
26 episodes, not like 10 seasons. Or
No. Hold on. It's telling that you've watched through that whole thing, and that show is notorious for having some issues. And then you go into Cyberpunk, and you still recognize that there's some issues.
Oh, yeah. See, maybe it's because of that. Yeah. You know, I think the reason that people who like The Office don't notice that there is huge glaring problems with Cyberpunk.
Yep.
Is because The Office is filmed like it's a reality TV show. So all the faults and problems in the camera and like the funny like looking at the camera things, all those things that are supposed to like take you out of the immersive experience of watching like a scripted TV show, those are features in The Office.
Yeah.
So maybe people who are playing Cyberpunk are like, that's a feature, just like my favorite show, The Office.
Wow, that's a good parallel to make.
I believe Joseph Anderson's always talking about Bethesda's bug, where something in a Bethesda game is so messed up that you can't differentiate if it's an actual glitch or if it's like intended, or it gives you a different way of perceiving something that's happening. You know, do you remember?
Yeah.
You can't distinguish between reality.
You could almost make that case for Cyberpunk, but there's just too many things. Unless you buy into the Netrunner thing, which is a distinct possibility.
Yep. That's just a way to make it acceptable for yourself. I do the relic thing where I'm like, oh, damn, this relic's really fucking with my perception.
But before you get the relic too, you were...
Then I was just high. My character was high on drugs. So
okay, yeah. Works for me.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so the bugs...
This game has some bugs, guys.
This game has a lot of bugs, and you're going to see them unless you are a fan of The Office and you're on your 10th rewatch of it.
You're going to know about them.
Yep, you're going to see them. But maybe we should get into some other aspect of the game, like...
yeah.
There is nothing else. There's only glitches.
There's more. There is, believe it or not, contrary to what this whole thing has been so far, there is more than just these graphical glitches and bugs. So there's more in this game than that.
Okay, fine, I relent.
You know, we've been shitting on the game this whole time. I'm gonna start talking about something I really like about it a lot. That I really like a lot about it, because it deserves some praise. And it's the world. I love Night City a lot. I think, like, the way it's designed, each distinct district is, like, just its own divided thing. It's, like, completely stands alone from another district. You know, you can go to these really distinct districts that are all different. They all have different vibes. They all have different, you know, people living there. It's like there's a lot of care put into all these little back alleys and little nooks and like just the world design, or just Night City design wise, the world of Night City is very, very cool. And that might be just because I'm like, I love Cyberpunk, like the genre and just the designs of some of these things. But like the city itself, so damn good. I love it. I love driving around at night. It just feels so good to be, you know, just rolling around the city on your motorcycle, listening to some jams.
Yeah, and I'll say especially too, visually, like Night City looks awesome, especially when you're out in the desert and you can actually just look at the whole city.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just super massive, and yeah, it really looks nice.
Yeah,
great design of city.
The city is like kind of its own character.
Yeah, and I mentioned that a few times. It's true.
It's very, yeah, like, you know, it makes sense. Like, this is very, I just can't say enough, like, how cool, how different for all these different districts are from each other. Like, Kabuki, I know, Kabuki's probably my favorite area just because it's like a little shanty town and it has all these cool, quaint little stalls along this little river. And, like, right across you see the towering, you know, neon lit skyscrapers of, like, the city center, I think. And it's just, like, it just looks so cool. And then, you know, you look at somewhere like Watson that has all these like industrial plants over in the top corner, and it's just like, and then Santo Domingo is like super industrial, like white trash trailer park looking place. You know, it's just like it's so cool. It's really, really cool.
There's a lot of different flavor to each area that you're in.
Yeah, it just has a lot of character and a lot of you know, just it's really interesting to me. I kept getting kind of swept up in just like walking around these little areas, or, you know, it just seemed like, you know, even if you're running through some back alley thing, there's just like a little food stand and people, you know, walking to and fro and like little gang meetups and stuff. And it always just felt like there was stuff kind of going on in the city, which was pretty cool. And those, like, to add further to that, there's all those little NCPD scanner things and side quests popping up all over the place that you can just kind of fluidly take care of. Those scanner things were the best because you didn't have any stupid ass dialogue. You just had to go kill some guys
and go kill some boys.
Oh, so nice.
And it's really interesting too, because a lot of those, they kind of go out of their way to flesh them out, even though they don't need to.
Yeah, they tell little stories sometimes.
Yeah, they all tell, like, yeah, I guess maybe not all of them, but a lot of them tell little stories if you stop and just like look around at the environment or read a little shard.
Just watch the bad guys like beat the shit out of some guy for a while, or let them kill him before you step in.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Like any true Night City citizen would do.
Yeah, any true Night City citizen would turn their back on it. But
yeah,
I gotta get experience points.
Right, and I feel like it's pretty interesting too that like Cyberpunk, I'd say, is a fairly accurate representation of what technologies and stuff we could have in actually 2077. And there's tons of different aspects, like just all those random encounters are explained by like the police force being like so overwhelmed and overbooked with all the sheer levels of crimes going on in the city that no one can keep up with it, so they have to turn to bounty hunters to just try to have any semblance of like order in society.
Yeah, so, you get like an automatic wiring of euro dollars whenever you dispose of someone on the wanted list, right? From the legal force.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's how hooked up they are.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really interesting though, looking at that respect. I guess money's money. Money's money, but You know, I can't imagine that people in Night City would ever willingly help like the police, just
Right.
for how like But I guess money's money when you're a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Eddie's.
Eddie's.
I like the city.
Yeah, I'm glad because I think that that's probably the thing that the game does the best is just the world building, like, and the city itself. All of that stuff works in just this super cohesive package. I have a big long list here of things that all sort of contribute to the city all in tandem. One of the first things I noticed upon like starting the game was like how people talked and the slang.
Yeah, there's a lot of slang in this
There's
game.
a lot of slang,
Yeah.
and you're just an outsider. You don't fucking know what they're talking about, and no one stops to explain it because everyone in the game has lived there.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows. And
I'm
I
glad
think
they
that
don't
that
hold your hand
writing-
with that. It's a little
Yeah.
weird sometimes and kind of off-putting because nobody does help you out there, but it's
Mm-hmm.
real.
It's kind of like newspeak. This new
Yeah.
way of talking about things. Like steel is
Because
clef-
language evolves so fast in even in our modern time and in the future where everyone's hooked up even more so at like beyond the scope of reality. It's
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, I could believe that slang would evolve like that. The only weird thing is that you don't know what people are saying when they're talking in Spanish or something.
But yeah, like I just really had a big time appreciation that they weren't like, oh, by the way, Chum means friend. Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, Eddie's is money. Like when the people were talking about
my
Eddie's, I was like, what the is that a guy? What's
Yeah,
what?
I was so confused.
Yeah,
at
that is
first.
And it's
really
just-
interesting how they keep you guessing what exactly is
Yeah.
talking about. Then you kind of just like have to pick up on it, just like we had to back in middle school when we didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what, some word meant.
dollars were or presidents,
Yeah.
We didn't know what that
Yeah.
it's just slang.
Like
Yeah.
agriculture,
It's-
like what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like
So yeah, I mean that whole aspect of it made it seem even more realistic to me. Like the writing is really good, and just how you speak as a street kid, because that's the canon. You're
Yeah.
definitely for sure a street kid.
Yep.
We'll get to that
Yeah.
more, I think, later.
It
but
forces you to be
like-
it no matter what. So
it forces you to be it, yeah. And like and holy shit, the lore. Did you guys ever like listen to the news and watch the news, or like listen to the radio in your
Rarely.
car? or whatever?
Rarely I did, I have to admit. Not that
Yeah.
very
Oh
much.
my God.
I saw a couple like insights and bits and pieces about like population densities and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the like every time that I'd walk by a news thing and they were like, "Oh, here's the news," I would stop and like just listen to it. Holy shit. The world of Cyberpunk is so fucked up, and it's just so fucking cool. Like it really rewards you for listening and piecing that stuff together, I think, because it just I mean, this game is based off of that pen and paper Cyberpunk 2020 game. And like already in that there's just so much lore and stuff built up. So then this is, years and years later. So it's just really, really cool that they have this, like the Soviet Union still exists in this world, and the America's economy collapsed and was bought out by Europe, and that's why there's euro dollars. Like it's just really, really cool, and all the stuff happening around the world. It's just interesting.
And I thought it was interesting how Night City just was having huge population decline because just people are killing each other in the streets and
Yeah.
not able to produce enough new bodies fast enough.
Yeah, you wonder how the lifespan of the average person is so long now because of advancements in medicine in 2077. How does anyone live that long? Damn.
Right?
Everyone's getting gunned down.
Well,
Yeah.
only certain people can afford the medical, which is fucking so cool. I can't sing those praises enough. Like Cyberpunk, dude. I mean, as a genre, it's all about the corporations making money, stepping over the little guy. The wage gap is just growing exponentially large, and like privatized healthcare that already exists in America. When are we gonna get this cool privatized militarized healthcare that fucking swoops in, pulls guns out, picks your body up? Like, I just thought the trauma team was so cool. It just doesn't seem like a too far-fetched from what could be happening at some point. These just
totally.
militarized guys. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Tempering the that a bit. Because the game, even if it doesn't run well, it does look really good, and there is a distinction between the districts. And I wish I would have picked up on more lore, but there's not like a lot to do. Like I was surprised by that because it almost seemed, and correct me if I'm wrong, that leading up to this game, there was sort of the idea that it was going to be an immersive sim. I think you described it kind of like that earlier.
Yep.
But then, as far as I'm aware, they pivoted the description of the game shortly before it came out to it's just like an action open world game now.
Oh,
so there's no places to... You can't really sit down and enjoy a meal.
Yeah, you can't even
that
sit.
Pisses me off.
Most chairs don't let you just sit.
There's no activities to just chill with. The world, like, okay, you can stop and listen to a radio whenever you want, but there's not really a lot of active, absorbing elements to include you with the city. You just kind of run around and kill people. And I think that's really sad because it does have the foundation, but it's not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's like they did their work on the writing aspect and the background lore aspect. All that stuff is fleshed out. But, that's why part of me was really hoping that they would have just a little more time to develop and add a little bit more features, because if all they did was just add, like, you can go to a bar, sit down, order a drink, and just drink it, as if you're talking to someone in a quest.
I can't believe you can't do that. That's such...
Total missed opportunity.
That stuff can just help, like, so much. Yeah, or, like, stop and, like, I really loved in Red Dead 2 when you could just, like, pull a cigarette out and just stand there and just smoke a cigarette. Cool. That shit's fucking awesome. Those little tiny touches would have elevated, like, the immersive nature of the game by a lot. But yeah, they're just not there. It's just a kill game. It's a kill game.
Everywhere you go, there's all these different foods and drinks and stuff that kind of show you how society has advanced. Like all of their meat is synthetic, or most of it.
Right.
And then almost all of it in the world is just this generic like bag. Like there's drinks, but they're in little popcorn candy bag things. Like they don't have dedicated models to the majority of food and drink in the game, and it's sorry, I can't get immersed in the game because it's constantly ripping me out of it.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, I think, too. That's part of the battle against the game. Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to quick point out the last note for this Night City gush session I'm having here. The music.
The music is good.
I fucking love. Ooh. I love the music.
The music in this game is so
good. The OST is awesome. But like the radio too, and like the way that music is used. Music is such a huge theme to the story because like all the quests and side job quests are named after songs too.
Oh yeah.
So like there's just this huge if I remember right, I think all of them except for the prologue missions.
There was a handful that I recognized, like knocking on heaven's doors. I was like, hey, that's a song. But
all along the watchtower.
Yeah, all along the watchtower.
It's so cool. Like I really love that. And then there's something I thought was really cool that added to the mythos of Night City was like they got dudes to record music for the game, like Grimes and Run the Jewels and A$AP Rocky and stuff. Like they contributed original songs to this game, but they made up like fake artist names, like just to have them on in the OST of the game. They have like a fake artist name.
Oh, that fits the game and the producer of the Night City.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you see the title or the artist of a song? I was always in my car looking, at the dashboard trying to figure out what is the song. I want to know what the song is. Is there a way to know?
I thought they did have that.
In the cars, early in the game when I had my first handful of cars, it wasn't in them. And in a couple of the cars that an NPC would give you, maybe it is in the game. I fully expected it to, and I for sure checked. But the cars I was in did not have that, and I was always. I have a note saying I wish I knew what the song was because it was so good.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, maybe they didn't. But I just remember listening to these songs because I liked the artists, and then I'm like, oh, their name is something else like Grimes. Grimes is actually featured in a quest, and she's Lizzie Wizzy, pop star.
Oh, that's who that... Okay, I did that question.
Lizzie Wizzy is Grimes, yeah. It's like her music, and then her character in the game is Lizzie Wizzy.
Yeah.
And then Run the Jewels, their name is Yankee and the Brave. And like it's just really cool that there's this whole like separation from their music in our world, in our real life, and then the Night City world. Like they're so dedicated to keeping it like that. And then there's Samurai.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That'll be something later when we talk about the story, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff regarding Samurai to bring up in the story. But I just think like all those things work together to build like Night City as this cool thing, this cool real zone. But yeah, like like you mentioned and like I mentioned earlier, like there's nothing to do to spend your time other than kill. You can't just like idle around the city and just like absorb, unless you just stand still and just look.
And when you do, something is going to catch your attention and say, hey, look at me. I'm not working properly. I'm messed up.
Yep. It's got its double-edged sword. I really hope that they add some more features that can just let you chill. Just let you chill out.
And is it just me, or does this game feel extremely empty without any sort of multiplayer?
I'd like to touch on that maybe when talking more in depth about the mechanics.
Yeah.
All right.
But at some point in the game, I did think this whole RPG system could almost do with some multiplayer.
Right? Like GTA or something like that. You could always just play online, create an online character, do everything. It felt like it should just be like, this game feels like it should just be like a city sandbox game, sort of like GTA, where you can
I was
just
thinking like The Division almost.
Oh,
you know?
Interesting.
This game
I've never played The
is
Division, actually.
weird. This game's like a mashup of so many different games.
Yeah.
You can draw direct parallels, and then it's, of course, the sad thing is all those other games do each one of these individual things probably better. But it's the stuff that Jay was talking about that is the strength of Cyberpunk and what they really need to mold everything else around if they want this experience to end up being a positive one. If if your view isn't already positive on that alone.
Yeah, city and the world are the best aspects of the game, and they should be fleshed out more for sure. But yeah, maybe let's just segue and talk about that gameplay.
Totally.
So, games that I think different elements of this come from, and then maybe you guys pitch in whatever. So, what did you say, Kay? What game? Oh, GTA and The Division are the two so far.
Yeah, I feel like GTA. It feels like Night City could easily be Vice City. And you're just kind of like a character dropped into this mega city. There's already all this like hierarchy and stuff going on. There's gigs, missions. Really, your only goal is to just like get street cred, and get like money in Night City. Like every point in the game, your character gets to talk about how they just wanted to be someone in Night City. It feels like that's kind of like the secondary goal. The first is the main plot, but then the other major goal of playing the game is to just be this badass of Night City.
It's weird that it does have the superficiality of it, and then the driving, I guess, is like very Grand Theft Auto, and then they've got RPG elements, they've got conversation skills, perks that are similar to Bethesda games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and then they also have randomized gun loot stuff that's like Borderlands-ish.
Borderlands. I was gonna say, yeah.
Very similar to Borderlands.
There's a lot of different moving parts here, and each one of them, I think it's almost easier to compare them to the games that they're similar to.
I just want to say, I want to get this off my chest now. It's gonna be just a quick point. Driving is fucking really bad, unless you're on a motorcycle. You have to be on a motorcycle.
I started driving a car around a lot, but
why?
Yeah, motorcycle driving just felt so good. Zipping in between cars, got some very good Akira vibes going on around that motorcycle. Yeah, driving a car, it was just too big. Can't squeeze around other people. Stuck in traffic. Awful.
Ice. You're on ice.
Yeah.
You're sliding around on it because the streets are so slick with grime and wet cyberpunk vibes.
And blood.
For me, it was kind of like getting used to any new GTA or something where they overhaul the driving physics. you can get used to it, but it's for sure not you can't drift. My car just loses its mind and spins around and does 180 degrees if I try to do a drift.
Yeah, you got bald tires.
Yep.
The car, yeah, it does feel like you have bald tires. Momentum, if you go off like a hill or something, it's like gravity doesn't exist for a second. Or gravity is like lowered on your car because you go in a straight line off of whatever vertical plane. Like if you go off of a hill at a 45 degrees, you sail 45 degrees straight into the air for a while before gravity slowly brings you to the ground. You can for sure sense that if you're going off a dune or something. And you don't need to squeeze through cars with your motorcycle. I don't know if you knew this, but all other cars around you are 10 pounds. So you can just drive through them, basically. You can smash into other cars. Yeah, for
not
me,
on a motorcycle.
yes.
I'd always drive. I'd hit them and I'd go, whoa, fly away.
Well, yeah, not on a motorcycle.
okay.
I mean, in a car. If you run into another car, it's like that car doesn't exist.
Wow.
You push it out of the way. You are parting water with your car. It doesn't even matter what kind you have.
Even my motorcycle would win trades with full cars. Like just my rubber wheel would just smash that car into
Win
bits.
trades like it's combat,
good.
like you're dueling.
Yeah. Everything in Night City is a duel.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like
Yeah.
driving very weird. Had some weird stuff with, that tank that you end up operating. That's kind of getting into the plot, I guess. But that tank just did not handle very well for me. One point it flipped upside down on me, and I was driving it around upside down,
Yeah.
and it was a disaster.
Yeah, the camera's upside down, but
Yeah.
you're driving it right side. Yeah,
Weird.
I had
Oh
that
my
happen
God.
too. I wish you could have, that tank reminded me of cheat codes in the other earlier GTAs where you could summon that one that would just blow stuff up if it touched it. But then this is just stuck
Yeah.
to scripted story events,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah, other than the driving, the combat and stuff was I think the class system seemed really, really cool. Because it wasn't really like a class system, it was a lot more fluid than that. The build variants seemed to be pretty solid. Like you could go and sort of play however you want. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, I don't know about you guys, I don't know what you guys did, but I was a cyber hacker ninja.
Yeah, let's hear Jay. Yeah, I want to hear all about your build, your experience.
And yeah, I'll get into more of this in a little bit too. But I was a cyber hacker ninja girl, and I think there's a lot to unpack with the combat that I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
But basically my core attributes: intellect and cool. That's all I need. Didn't put points in anything else.
Wow.
I was like level 5 on everything else, but intellect and cool maxed those out. I had breach protocol, I had my quick hacks, and I had my cold blood, and that's it. I started off, before I got all these access to these super cool perks, all these overpowered perks, I'd reboot their optics so they couldn't see, and then I would run up, slash them, cut them in half with my ninja sword, my samurai sword, my katana, and then I would hide. And then I would hack something and distract someone and go and slash them. It felt really cool. Towards the mid game, I started getting access to more quick hacks that would wound, that would do damage. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, when I was having the most fun because it felt really, really super fluid. I could be running around with my sword and my gun, and then like quick hacking while I ran around, and I would be like lighting dudes on fire, shocking them, short circuiting them, turning off their optics so they couldn't see anything. It was just really cool, and jumping over cover and slicing guys' heads off, and it was neat. And then towards the end of the game, it became just the easiest thing in the world of all time. Because I'd see one guy, I would hide behind a little barricade, a little road barricade, see one guy, ping him and all his friends in the whole area. I could see them through walls. I'd hack him with contagion, poison build, and he would go crit, get instantly killed. He would send it to like 5 of his friends, and they would all instantly die. And then I would stand up and I'd walk in, and then everyone would be dead. And this is
on hard mode.
This is on hard mode, yeah.
Wow.
I very rarely fired my gun at the end of the game. I could just hack everyone and kill them pretty much instantly.
Yep.
Was that entertaining?
Yeah, in the beginning it was, but towards the end was not. It was cool. It felt powerful. It felt very cool.
Yeah, I feel like towards the end of the game, you just get such a huge power spike from all of your abilities just kind of reaching a point where they play off of each other that no fight is ever difficult ever again. At least that's what it felt like for me.
I have some cool things to talk about that too.
Okay.
So I'm excited. But yeah, what'd you run, Kay?
My build, K was pretty well known for being just kind of a generalist. I started out with a katana, the black unicorn katana, and I was like a full melee build at the time, just chopping people up. But then I found this really good knife, and I just started stabbing people with that. So I was a stabber for a while, just putting big points into stabbing people. Then I found that gun, the Lizzie, and I'm like, you know what? I'm into handguns now. K just got an upgrade, so then I'm running around shooting people, setting people on fire. Then I got this other gun called the Black Widow, and I used that gun for the rest of the game. Just kept upgrading it and stuff, and it was just so powerful. Tech rifle that would just explode whatever enemies I got, to the point where I didn't even know what skills would improve my tech rifle damage because it was already doing so much. It didn't need any improvements.
The Black Widow or the Widower? Or the Widowmaker?
Oh gosh, yeah, it could have been the Widowmaker actually.
Because I know that one, but I haven't heard of the Black Widow.
Oh yeah, you're probably right.
I was gonna say the same.
Sorry, yeah.
Either way, yeah.
Sorry, I must have misspoke. Yeah, then the Widowmaker.
Okay, then I know what gun you're talking about, and it's so fucking
K
strong.
was the Black Widow with the Widowmaker.
Yeah, I was the Black Widow, making some widows.
So K went kind of the Black Widow build. I went sexy cyber hacker ninja.
Then towards the end, I guess I had so much excess of skill points that I started just pouring everything into my intelligence, just so I could just fry enemies. I would just shock them out of combat, deal extreme damage, and I ended up not even having to reveal myself for most combat situations towards the end of the game. So I fought hands free by the end of the game.
Okay, were you playing on hard?
No, I was just playing on normal. I didn't really know what difficulty I should pick for this game. Didn't know how to judge it.
No, that's fair. I'm just curious.
Yeah, knowing how easy things got for me towards the end, I definitely was wishing that I would have been on a harder difficulty. But
yeah, difficulty is always going to be a contentious thing because it's not ever going to be clear and it's never going to be the same between person to person, between game to game. So I'm just curious because the numbers are going to change.
Totally.
Were you respecking your character every time you were changing this stuff? Or were you just like, I'm going to use this now?
Yeah, I just said, I'm going to use this now. And I kind of, like, I kept, my melee points. I kept my pistol in circulation. And then I didn't even need anything for my strongest weapon that I found, ultimately. So then I would use, like, just my pure tech skills to defeat enemies at that point. So I kind of just picked up all of these weird little things. Was mostly a jack of all trades, master of none. And my usual food build didn't come into play very much either. Because even though I just picked up like huge amounts of food in my inventory, didn't seem to heal me for very much, didn't really make much use of it at all.
Yeah, I think it was only out of combat healing for food in this game. They knew. They sniped your build from orbit, dude.
That's true. I did the next...
Then, you're probably inhaler build at that point then.
Yeah, like millions of those things. I think I had hundreds in my inventory by the end of the game. Just to the point where I was already essentially immortal, provided I could just sneak out of combat for long enough to totally heal back to full health in a matter of an instant.
And then just pop another one, and then just pop another one. Like you could just, there's no limit.
Sometimes I would even just be too lazy to go hide, and I would just pop one straight in combat. While they're putting bullets in me, I'm healing faster than they can kill me.
Yeah, I think we all know that.
Yeah,
that struggle. So my girl, I guess, was just kind of a generic merc assassin. Then I guess I was going reflexes and cool for knives. I saw knives. The game kind of seemed designed around gunplay first and foremost, but then they're like, we've got katanas. Who doesn't love a katana?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was going towards that, but then knife seemed so niche. I just wanted to try it, you know? I dedicated myself to the art of the knife
The stabber.
right at the start of the game, and stealth. And so early in the game, it was turning off cameras was so, like, cameras are a thing in the game, but it was almost irrelevant because at the start of the game, you can just disable them by looking at them.
I think I was
So you
spotted
could-
by a single camera the whole
Yeah,
game.
it's kind of crazy that they're even a factor, but I kind of made this challenge for myself going from the start of the game where there were like no knives, they just don't give them to you, and there's not really a lot of perks to go around. Mid game, I decided to get rid of, early mid game, I got rid of that quick hack, completely threw away my hacking abilities, didn't have them the rest of the game. I went with slow down time because I thought that would be more interesting to how you play the game. So I would have to slow down time to physically walk up to cameras and turn them off with my bare hands. and that only works if you have a high enough tech level, so I started investing in that so I could also craft. And knives were kind of messed up the whole game and just were never useful in the way I was hoping, because even if you're stealthed and you stab someone, they usually just go, "Ow, what was that?" and they tell everybody about it. So I just used any gun I could pick up and killed them with that instead.
Did you ever like take them on with knives in straight combat? Because I
Yes,
got a little bit of knife experience too.
With a completely like maxed out stealth and cold blood skill tree, and then all blades and reflexes. So I got like literally everything to buff knives possible in the whole game. I hit max level. The only time knives were good is if I slowed down time and then just poked everyone in a big mob with it, and then they would all instantly die to poison. But then there's no stealth involved in that because you are alerting everybody. It doesn't kill them in one hit.
Yeah, no, you got to grab
Or-
them from behind straight
Or
up
in a
if you
straw.
want.
Yeah, and at that point, it's like knife is so close range, you can just grab them and insta-kill them no matter what. But in a duel, it was pretty busted because you could just stab them over and over and they would die. Like even the strongest bosses in the game just melted to it. But there's like a handful of bosses in the whole game, so it didn't even matter.
And that strong attack too would just like melt them. Like it would stagger them, right? Like there's no difference between hard and normal, I imagine, for stagger mechanics.
Probably not. I guess one thing none of us mentioned is that from my experience, pretty much the entire game, even with 18 out of 20 tech at the very end, I would always die in like 2 or 3 hits throughout the whole game. If not one hit at the start of the game on hard mode.
Yeah.
Enemies hit you so hard that stealth almost seemed imperative, solely for the fact that you didn't want guys shooting at you because you would not be able to. If you got hit, you were dead. Basically,
Yeah.
Healing was irrelevant.
Yeah, on normal sometimes too. Like even if enough enemies just turned at you, they would all just fire their first round into you, and you would just die right away.
And I don't know if we want to get in nitty gritty already, but 18 tech. Every point in tech gives you 5% more total armor, and you can craft your own armor with tech skill trees. So theoretically, I should have had so much extra armor because that's like 90% bonus armor. So I almost had double the armor someone who didn't invest in tech at all would have, and I was still dying most of the game in like a couple hits.
Really?
I invested heavily in tech right at the start of the game, like just building my character, not really knowing much about how the game was going to work. And all my tech level really did for me at the end of the day was just let me open certain doors that probably other people weren't quite able to do right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is interesting that there are some contextual things that your skills open up, but in terms of, combat, and then I guess my experience on hard, it's just kind of it. The thing is, it's really easy to break this game because it's so busted, right? And it's easy to break the game, and that's why in some ways you probably do. I mean, in my case, it was like, how do I challenge myself? Well, don't exploit shit. Specifically weaken yourself so that this is more interesting. because it's kind of a basic combat system, and the perk trees and the cyberware, the modifications for your body, so that like let you change it, like, you know, removing the quick hack feature altogether for slowing down time. Like that was fun. That was a cool way to mess around with the game.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so this is another game where the case is that health is far, far, far more useful than armor.
I mean, do you want me to, I did some armor testing.
Yeah, let's hear that info.
Okay. I looked at what some people were saying, and early indications were it was something like, in this test the guy did, it was high 30s of armor. So you would need somewhere between 35 to 40 points of armor to mitigate 1 point of damage from an attack. And, you know, I had low health at the end of the game with 600. Mitigating 1 point was nothing. That did nothing for me. If I was going to die in 2 hits, that was still going to get me killed in 2 hits to have X amount of armor.
Yeah.
I think that, and it doesn't change between difficulties, is what I picked up on in my testing, a limited testing. But the guy I went against, it was even higher. You would need 45 to 50 points of armor to mitigate 1 point of damage. And then there are diminishing returns as well once you get extremely high. But at that point, it's so easy to craft so much armor by just exploiting how broken the crafting system is that you're probably taking 1 point of damage. But I believe it probably depends on the level of the enemy and the type of weapon they're using. Melee just ignores armor. I was taking hits from a melee guy with 100 armor, with 500 armor, with 6,000 armor, did the exact same amount of damage every single time.
Whoa.
Wow. So it cuts straight through.
It's kind of like stack armor, or you're going to notice almost no difference at all from what I was looking at, because a reasonable amount of upgrading your stuff is only going to give you maybe one more hit before you die. And when you're dealing with so few hits to get killed in the first place, it's almost unnoticeable, especially when there's a bunch of guys shooting at you at once.
Yeah.
But if you abuse it and just get it ridiculously high, multiple thousands, then you're taking almost nothing because of how it works. It's like not a percentage as far as I could tell. It's just a flat reduction based on a certain amount of armor.
Damn.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. My armor was very low for the whole game, and just by the end of the game, I was so dedicated to my stealth build too that I didn't even get into a lot of actual combat situations in the first place. And a lot of the times that I did, I would just like kind of shy away from the combat, sit on the outskirts, and let enemies shoot at me in a high cover area, and then just take a peek at them and let my cyber hacks do the rest of the work.
Yeah. The game for me, I was playing Fashion Punk. I wasn't even trying to stack armor or anything. I was just trying to look cool. I'd still die. I would just die so fast. But it's reassuring to know that, have what looks cool on your character, I guess, if you're really only going to mitigate one hit, one shot. I mean, Guys shoot so fast, you're fighting guys with like assault rifles and usually multiple guys.
Yeah, you can look at the breakdown I was doing and the amount of armor I was getting end game against a guy who was like a low level area. I was probably in Watson or something.
And especially when you're a knife melee fighter, every shot counts.
Yeah. When you're built like it doesn't. The thing is, the game even on hard, the difference I noticed between normal and hard is hard. They just hit harder initially, so armor does the same amount of mitigation, but you would reach the cap of where it's reduced so low much faster on normal. So it's good. It works the same, I guess, is the point. But I could kill anybody with anything for like half the game. It didn't even matter. You could just headshot anybody with a silenced revolver with no points, no skill investment at all. The whole game. It didn't even matter. And that's sad.
That's what I was going to get to was, after I beat the game, I downloaded a little mod to just kind of fool around with other builds and just test out, just to see, because I was really curious. Like, the game felt so damn easy being a hacker that I could, literally see people from across, like, through walls and kill them with no danger to myself. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I tested out a handful of different weapons. I tested out melee build with blunt weapons. I tested out blades, tested out shotguns and assault rifles. And like, they're all fun. They all have cool things that can intertwine and, work off of a cool, interesting build. Like the blunt weapon build was really cool. Like if you block a hit, you gain HP. And there was like stuff for mitigating stamina, for using like huge attacks and stuff like that. There was stunning mechanics, like if you stun a dude, you do like double damage on your next hit, stuff like that. That all worked in a really, really cool in really cool tandem. Then I tried shotguns. They had a whole thing where it was like your movement speed. If you kill someone, your movement speed goes super fast. So you just fucking zip around with a shotgun, and you just kill guys in one. Like, yeah, you're always killing guys in one hit with all of these builds, is what I decided, what I figured out. You're always killing in one hit, but the hugest, biggest difference is that hacking is the safest and most effective and efficient way to kill, which is the goal of the game. So, like, when I was doing my little testing, I would still die in, one or two shots when I was running around with a shotgun, but the difference is that I had to, be a little more mobile, especially with melee weapons and stuff, and get in positioning and like take cover. It felt a lot more fun to play like that, but then I would die in 2 hits and I would go, oh man, I gotta redo it, and it's just like, it's really interesting. Like, I feel like hacking is absolutely the most overpowered tree to go down.
I mean, just like it would be in real life in that situation.
Yeah,
exactly. It just seems the most fitting.
Yeah.
It's weird that there's no, how you can you could ping guys and see where they're connected to a network. It should be that you should be able to go to wherever at the access point that they're all connected to and upload your stuff through there.
That kind of does happen in a certain story event too. That makes me think it would have been possible.
Yeah, because it seems far too easy to just walk up, get off your motorcycle, and just hide behind a thing and then instantly kill everyone in fucking 2 seconds.
It seems too easy to just turn off any camera or disable any turret or do anything just for free with no investment. Yeah, you can do that at
lowest level. Yeah, no investment to turn that stuff off. It's just really strange that I wish they would have added a little more gameplay aspects. Like, maybe, how you have to breach protocol and do a little puzzle when you breach the protocol and lower their resistances,
it's like a Bethesda lockpicking minigame sort of thing, hacking.
But then you can set someone on fire and they don't have any sort of firewall or virus protection or anything. They just go, ugh! Can anybody walk down the street and just light everyone on fire who has any is there
if you're a net runner,
what's the ramifications for that?
Open carry in Night City, including deadly immolation mods in your brain.
You can buy guns at a vending machines in Night City. That's how fucked up it is.
You can put swords in your arms just whenever you want.
It's just interesting. All these other ones the other builds that I tried, everything is overpowered. Everything can kill anything so fast. Everything works in synergy. All the skills and stuff work in really, really good synergy. But at the end of the day, hacking is just far and beyond. If you want to just kill things and get done with whatever encounter you're trying to do, just hack. Just hack.
Just hack your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hack and loot game.
Yeah, it's weird.
My takeaway from all of this, really, because there's that Elder Scrolls skill progression where you can get more free skill points if you use certain skills over and over. If you use your hacking or if you use shotguns to kill people, you can level that skill up and it gives you some free stuff. So it's kind of advantageous at points to use stuff that isn't for your build or whatever you're going for just to farm that.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I did that all the time, and I could kill guys pretty much the same speed no matter what I was using, even though I wasn't spec'd into it.
Oh, yeah. I really like the perk system because it seems like you can just... It was just really fun. I get so excited whenever I got new perk points because that just meant that my guy was about to get a huge power spike every single time.
The amount of gameplay spent on the perk menu, I think, could probably be quite a lot. Like reading all of them and
Oh
just
yeah,
weighing options and being like, all right, my next couple perks are going into this. And then you'd see something else and you'd be like, oh, this looks
yeah.
cool too.
That's probably one of the things I appreciate the absolute most in a game is like a good cohesive perk system.
That's what's disappointing for me, though, is they don't do anything with it. Your guy gets so strong, but you can go buy a perk reset and then walk around and don't even spend them on anything. It's
Yeah.
not as fun, but the game doesn't have anything that lets you take advantage of it. There's only a couple boss fights. It's a game that has stealth in it, but then you're forced into non-stealth encounters all the time. Classic issue with games like this.
Yep.
Yep.
It's designed in a way where I don't think the RPG elements like do anything.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like there could have just as easily not been this progression system, and you just deal like a flat amount of damage. You just deal what the weapon tells you to, basically.
Yeah, it's fun. I prefer having it than not having it, right? I think
Yeah.
we could probably all agree. But then they need to add something. Like nowhere near the max level do you have to ever get before everything in the game you can just tread on it.
Right,
Doesn't even
and then
matter.
like there's no like end game raids. It's not like there's something to be working towards other than just making sure you're geared enough to get through some story mission or some big fight.
It does feel like Borderlands a lot with the RPG. It's just like that. It's got skill trees. This game has more that you can play around with is the thing. Then Borderlands is like, oh, here's 3 trees. Go down one of them, and then with some updates, go down 1.5 of them or something. Right? So it's kind of like you pick one of 3 builds or something like that. In this game, there's a lot of builds I think you could do. But then there's nothing past like level 30 probably that matters. There's no raids. There's all these guns, legendaries, there's crafting, all this shit. And what do you do with it? You just kill more random guys on the street.
Random guys that die in one shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no end game things for
yeah,
sure.
It does seem like it is got a certain level of emptiness, and I guess depending on the end of your game, things can be just very empty.
That's
Depending
my
on
game
each
right now.
story.
There's nothing. Quests and NPC or enemy encampments dry up, which I guess fair enough. But then there's no. I think this game could probably do with a new game plus or like a Dark Souls cycle where everything is harder on the next run. Not just because there would be more challenging stuff to do, but then you could see the game with the same character, collect more stuff that you might have missed because there's missable things in the story. Get another take, do a different run, and see things differently without just reloading, saves coming to check it out.
Yeah, and you could get perks still for completing all the side quests again. You could get more perk points to check out different trees. They definitely need a reset thing for the attributes as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be fun.
There's just not much of a test of your actual abilities. You spend the whole game leveling up and getting way stronger and just feeling like a total badass, but then
Yeah.
nothing ever puts you in your place.
Right. I have a good experience that I want to share a little later. But
Oh yeah.
something interesting that's kind of funny in this game in the game with the gameplay aspect is what's the point of sparing anybody?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just thinking that there's lethal and non-lethal options.
There's no reason for it. And you get more experience for killing.
Do you?
Oh,
Yeah, because you get cold blood. You get more experience. I noticed I would level up after shooting a guy. Like I'd take everyone out and then I'd run around and loot. And maybe it's just the experience thing coming in late. You know what I mean? But then I would shoot a guy, kill him, and then I'd get more cold blood experience. And I'm like, whoa.
Your experience and stuff doesn't tally until you're out of combat.
Yeah, but I would be out and looting like it would be done. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I think you need. Cold blood is weird because they don't explain how those skills work. I assume you just need a stack of cold blood when doing another takedown to get XP for cold blood.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if a non-lethal takedown followed by a lethal takedown gives you double or 2 instances of experience.
I would not put anything past this game. It's so broken.
Yeah, so I would go I would, my hacking things were non-lethal. They'd just knock everyone on the ground. Everyone would get contaged. They'd get sick. They would pass out, and then I would loot them, get all their eddies, and then I'd walk around methodically with my Lizzie and be like, pow, pow,
Oh, okay.
fucking put them all down.
Yeah, I would kill everybody, and then I would loot them and pick up their bodies and dump them, even though there's no one around, and that gives stealth XP.
Oh shit! See, there's different little ways to farm experience. That's funny.
It's dumb.
It's like
Yeah,
it's just like Morrowind when you'd get like athletics experience for just jumping over and over and over
Yeah,
again.
you literally do get athletic experience for just jumping up and down.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I started off the game wanting to do like non-lethal just because that's when I was in like the immersion stage. I thought this was going to be like an immersion game.
Because it's an option. Yeah, why give you the option, right?
Right? Yeah, I wanted to just be immersed and like not kill people and not be like a sociopathic criminal, basically. But then there's no reason to do it. Like you knock them out, they just lay there, or you slice them in half and then they just lay there. There's no like actual immersion to be had from, killing people versus not killing people or whatever.
Yeah, just to cover our bases, there's like probably a handful of quests that I recall where they said don't kill anyone.
Yeah.
And they'll give you a bonus. That's it.
You'll just get more money and that's it.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yep. So that's Night City, man.
That's Night City for you.
You're more incentivized to kill. Just kill everyone. And I think that's
Right? There's no reason to not.
Did you guys find the gun? There's a gun that talks to you.
Oh,
what's it
I've
called?
seen it. Skippy.
Skippy,
I haven't gotten it.
I found this gun at level 48, which makes me mad because it says on the gun it scales with your level, and the max level's 50. So you could find this piece of shit way early in the game, it'd probably be pretty nice. But it asks you right at the start, do you want me to set me to lethal or non-lethal mode? Even this gun that has a quest attached to it, it's like a funny thing too. Mm-hmm. It's its funny own little self-contained thing, and it gives you that option. And again, there's no just tell him lethal. Who cares?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's just usually in games I have sort of a moral compass that I sort of play into where I'm like, okay, yeah, I like to play non-lethal. I like to stealth and take guys out and like not kill people unless I have to.
And I was going the opposite, thinking it mattered.
Yeah, this game, like, no. I kill everyone. I don't feel bad because everyone in Night City is a piece of shit. Everyone in Night City deserves to get put down.
Yeah, that's exactly why I like to not kill people in games, because of like immersion factors and being like immersed in the plot, immersed and feeling like the actual weight of an in-game character's life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I guess my immersion with the game has been, challenged ever since I started out on the corpo path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's another thing I was meaning to ask you, and I think this is the like kind of a bridge between the story and gameplay, because you only get 3 choices for how to physically start the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know to what extent does that actually influence anything, because when I started out in the corpo sector, I was expecting like a simulation of like futuristic workplace when I first came to the game, but I was so disappointed with my start because it literally just, they fire you about 2 minutes after you start the corpo lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then you're just you immediately go and you're just basically the street rat.
Street kid.
Dude, we're kids. We're not rats.
We're kids. We're not rats.
Sorry, I got corpo rat.
Street rat, riff raff. I don't buy that. Right?
Yeah, that was in this game, I think.
Yeah, I think they started singing that. Yep.
If you pick, that's the intro. If you pick Street Kid, as they sing that song.
Yeah.
That's why it's objectively the best one.
I went from a corpo rat to something similar to a street kid. I was a street rat.
Yeah, parallel class. Yeah, from what I've heard, discussing this with a couple other people, you get like a different short intro, and maybe they introduce you to an NPC you can find later, and then they dump you into the same story as everyone else, and then later you get a quest to go back and deal with that intro that's also very minor, and that's it.
Hmm.
Which all signs say that it's a kind of a huge missed opportunity, and I think that's putting it lightly.
I think
Yeah.
that they should have nixed at all of the other ones. They should have just kept it Street Kid. Cause,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's totally like a situation where they give you the illusion that you're choosing something of any importance, but then in reality, it's just so empty.
it's
You get
really
a
strange because the way that this, that V talks, like I can imagine it sounded weird for you, Kay, because
yeah,
your guy is a corporate rat. He's crawling his way up the corporate ladder, and then he gets onto the street and he's all like, "Yo, tell me what the fuck's yo and shit." Like they're all talking
yeah,
about slang and they have this specific cadence that just sounds like they grew up on the street. But your dude
yep.
is like, I don't imagine they recorded a bunch of separate lines for if your dude's a corpo.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how it was. So I was in corporate. I was talking like a normal dude, still with my gruff, "Hey, what's up? It's me,
Yeah.
V." But, you know, other than that, you start off speaking like a normal human being, and then you get fired at some bar, and then you and Jackie just start hanging out a little bit, and next scene, you're talking, and you're like, "Yo, what's up with all this shit, man?" But just, yeah, like total, you just go from being corporate and posh instantly to just being a street kid. So
and then you get some dialogue choices sometimes, right? Like
oh yeah, certain dialogue options, but they never, I don't think they ever changed the outcome of a conversation or anything.
yeah, it's just flavor.
Just a flare of text, pretty much. A different flavor of dialogue.
Yeah, life paths seemed to be like a sales point of the game, but it ended up being really not a whole lot of anything substantial. And I think that sort of my biggest gripe with the game, or the thing I had the biggest problem with, is sort of stemmed from that, I think.
The life path specifically.
Not the life, well, just the aspect that life paths promise to you as a player and didn't meet expectations or even, meet what they, intended or, seemed to advertise life paths as. My biggest gripe with the game was that I wasn't able to roleplay V like how I wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a pervasive thing.
And that kind of goes to the fact that Street Kid is that's the canon path. Like there's no question about it. Like V behaves as a street kid. Like if you in your own mind wanted to play V as like, some sort of different aspect of a street kid, like she just always seems like a street kid, an asshole.
They.
Fucking
They.
yeah, they always felt well, she's canon, but yeah, they always seem like an asshole street kid, no matter what my perception of how I wanted to play V. It was thrown out the window because V is an established character, just
V
like
is
everyone
their
else.
own character. Yep.
Yep. And at first, and with this life path thing, the way it was like advertised made it seem like you can there's all these different kind of role playing things you can do that sort of set how your V reacts to the city. But
It's
nope.
really, really strange. Yep, you'll be getting plenty of dialogue throughout the game. Most of it inconsequential. Really just letting V answer and get like a slightly different response. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes you can act like what would technically be out of character for V in a way.
Yeah, see, it always felt like V. It felt like my V would just, be killing, would be just like thugging, know? And, once I started sort of playing into that a little more and sort of filling the shoes of a predetermined character, I got a little more accustomed to it, but it was hard to adjust to that because I didn't want that initially,
Uh-huh.
I have a point that kind of ties into the choice of playing the game lethal or non-lethal is kind of a choice you can make that's ultimately inconsequential. And the story version of that for me, because it stuck out, is you can always or very frequently, you can refuse to smoke or drink in the game.
Yeah.
That is a choice presented to you all the time, but there are a handful of times where V will establish that they are a frequent drinker or that they have smokes on them all the time, regardless of what you've been doing the whole game, because I was abstaining to see what would happen.
Interesting. I know one of my buds said that when you're sharing a drink with Panam at the end, she gave him lemonade because he hadn't been drinking the whole time.
Yeah,
And
she criticized, everyone criticizes you, but yeah, I remember asking for a lemonade, and then she says, okay, fine, I'll drink it for myself instead.
Wow. That's something
That's
I
funny.
never picked up on. Yeah, I would conscientiously abstain from all drinking and smoking whenever possible. I didn't even toast Jackie on our final farewell.
I didn't either.
Oh,
I
You
didn't.
guys are fucked up.
I didn't know it was
Yeah.
the last. It was just, hey, you want to have a drink?
Well,
no, thanks. I don't
And
drink.
That's something that
what I
I'm
thought.
actually kind of pissed off about. I did know that was going to be probably the final farewell because I watched that trailer from E3 where it reveals already that Jackie dies and then Dexter shoots you. And we
Yeah.
knew that, like anyone who would watch that trailer, and that was me when I first found out about the game. And I thought that was just going to be some random little like aside or some little, fun extra detail that was part of the story or something. But I had no idea that was just going to be exactly what they released from the main story. You know?
Yeah, it's really interesting, the advertising thoughts that must have went into there, because I mean that's considered the prologue. Like
That's
the game
like
doesn't even
Act
start.
1, right? They
Is that Act 1?
They flash Act 2 when you wake up with Johnny after all of that. And then I don't think Act 3 ever starts. I think the whole rest of the game is just Act 2.
I thought Act 3 started somewhere. Act 3, Act 3 started after. I remember seeing Act 3 at some point.
I don't
when you
recall
wake up
it.
in the hotel with Johnny after some. I remember seeing Act 3. Act 3 exists.
Really?
Yeah, you wake up in the Pacifica, that hotel.
But we all remember that it says there are predefined acts. And
Yeah,
I remember
there were.
Act 2 starts right after all that. So that is the first chunk of the game, even though it doesn't feel like it takes that long to get through that. But I guess that is weird. I didn't watch the trailer for the game. I didn't know that somehow. I missed that Jackie was going to die.
I honestly, I didn't know either, and that's fucked up because I remember watching trailers. I must have just like spaced it out. But like, yeah, I knew he was gonna die for other reasons.
Apparently they foreshadow it a lot, and I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, and then friends spoiling.
And then spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much public domain knowledge at that point too, because it was just in the trailer, so everyone who watched the trailer and was hyped for the game knew that Jackie was going to die the second that they saw him in game. And then I saw that guy and he was talking to me and I'm like, uh-oh. From the very first dialogue box, I knew how it was going to go.
It must not be very important that he dies. And,
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of how it conditioned me in the game, because when he dies, it was very easy for me to forget about Jackie and move on with the rest of the game and never think about him again.
I still like Jackie. I still think about him sometimes.
He's like a cool guy,
Jackie's
but
cool,
personally, that setup at the start where they time skip and now you're best buds, no, that ruined it for me. I didn't care.
It's interesting, I guess, like, because, the meat and potatoes of the story really is the Johnny Silverhand, identity crisis, basically.
Yes.
Like, that's what everything is setting up for. I think it's kind of cool that they pull that bait and switch out, but I wish that there would have been no inclination of it in a trailer or anything like that.
That's
I wish you would have
pretty
just,
unfortunate.
Yeah, that really did a number on the plot for me personally.
yeah, like, where to begin? Where to begin?
Yeah.
That's how this whole game feels.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot. So the story, you are basically just some sort of like no-name mercenary in Night City.
From the perspective of a street kid. Are you
From the
starting that
perspective of
early?
a street kid.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Which every path blends into anyways, so you can easily assume that.
Yeah, it's the most fluid and cohesive one, so it's meant to be, I think.
Yeah.
But
Corpo was the opposite of that, where you just feel like you've been cheated. You were
yeah,
promised an experience and not given a corporate lifestyle to your liking.
yeah. So you're some no-name merc. You get a botched job to lift some relic out of a corporate like higher ups hotel room. The job goes south. You out of necessity plug the chip in to your own head, and then it fuses with you, and you know you get shot in the head, but the chip somehow like stabilizes you. It has some sort of quality that gives you sustained life.
I
The
couldn't
way
say
I
it better
took it
myself.
was the way I took it is it sort of the bullet is almost deflected off of it, but damages it in such a way that the rest
I
of the
figured
story
it
occurs.
was. I figured kind of that the chip was damaged already by like the stuff that.
I
Was
mean, it
messing
could be,
up.
yeah. It does
Yeah.
sound like it either takes damage earlier on or, it's dying. It's got a juice. You got to plug it into someone's head.
Either way, the chip has the personality construct of a famous rock star turned huge like
Terrorist.
corporate terrorist. His personality construct inhabits the chip, and the chip also becomes a ticking time bomb for you because it's only a matter of time until your body is taken over by this personality engram of Johnny Silverhand. I gotta say, while the strong suit of the game is Night City, I think the story is very, very, very good. I'm into the story and the themes, and all the writing is all the characters are really good. All the interactions were just fun. It was fun learning about Johnny specifically. I came to love
Yeah.
Johnny. I came to love Johnny.
I did
Silverhand.
like Johnny as a character.
Yeah, he was good. He was really good.
It's weird because the story, I wasn't interested at first, which is just a recurring theme for me, is I'm waiting for them to hook me, and they didn't for a while.
Yeah.
Like the whole heist at the start was like the first thing that grabbed me. And then at some point after that, when it's just side quest city, I stopped caring for a while. And then the ending, I was super absorbed too. It is the presentation of the story, besides the bugs that permeate the whole game. Yeah, I would agree. It's probably the strongest element of the game for me.
I think like it's really interesting how the main story works and how the side quests, the good side quests, the main side quests fill in the story and make it even better. But they're just optional quests. Like I don't understand how
Yeah.
it works. It's really weird.
I've spoken before about how at some point I just kind of got confused as to what was even the main story anymore because the characters involved in it kind of go off in their own direction and you can do quests with them, but even though they do affect the main story, if you do them, they're optional.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know what was the main story anymore for a while.
And the quality of
God,
those
right?
side quests, like the writing wise, is like just about the exact same as as the main story. So it's just there's not a lot of difference really. It's cool.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And there's some very different experiences. I know we've all already just listening to something that another person who's played the game, one time, you listen to them talk and you're like, that's different from what I did. That's interesting. I think we've all had that at some point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you picked up on anything and you thought, that's interesting, that didn't happen to me?
Well, one thing that I noticed is just based on like the chronology of like how I did events. I feel like that might be different. Like one thing that did stand out to me was Evelyn, Evelyn Parker. Like I I got that quest from Judy to come like help her out immediately, like after you rescue her and everything, and then you like save her and you pull her out of everything. And then immediately you're just getting like all these phone calls just nonstop. V,
Yeah.
come here. V, come here. Come here. So I spent like the next like couple hours of my own personal gameplay doing Takemura stuff. And then I immediately get a phone call from Judy after like my second hour of doing other stuff. And then she's just like, V, I need you to come here right now. and you go there, and then it turns out Evelyn killed herself because of insanity or something.
She was abused.
There was some fucked up stuff going on with Evelyn. It really bums me out.
I thought she was going to be a big player.
Me too.
And I was wondering if I would have done something, differently with her plot line, she would have been fine. But
I don't get that impression.
No, it's like that for all.
She
levels.
always dies.
Wow. Okay.
It's interesting that the game makes you think that you could have saved her, though, and that's kind of the illusion that this sort of game is supposed to excel at. I think, because stuff can change like that. So important things can change, but not Evelyn, I don't think.
Yeah, it kind of bums me out. Like, through a lot of the main story and side quests, I feel like V doesn't have a lot of choice in anything. I mean, I guess that pairs well with the desperation element of, like, I need to find a lead to get this chip out and save my life, But,
yeah.
You're just it's kind of like the Dead Space thing, where it's just like, V, go here, do this. This is the spot.
Yeah.
We have to do this before I help you. And it's like everyone is like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just sucks that you don't have any influence on things like Evelyn, where it seems like you should be able to just save her or do something to support her somehow. That was the first one I did, and I did the quest all the way to the end, and she still died. So it's like, I didn't get distracted by anything. The Voodoo
I focused
Boys,
on that one too.
I love the Voodoo Boys were like one of the coolest gangs. All the other gangs sucked except Voodoo Boys. And, the Moxes, but they're not even a fucking gang.
Yeah,
they don't even do anything. Yeah, they're way cool. The concept of the Moxes is really cool. But the Voodoo Boys, I was like, these guys are dope. I want to help them out. But, like, no matter what you do, they always betray you. And there's no, like, faction system with all these gangs. I feel like there should have been some sort of, like the gangs are just filler for you to kill. They're just guys for you to kill.
Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I'd scan someone. I'm like, what? That's 6th Street? What? That's Voodoo Boys? And you could just murder them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't.
That's
do
why
anything.
I have a hard time keeping track of who any of these gangs are by name because they're mostly irrelevant.
They're little bullet sponges. They're experience sponges for you to get.
They're different skins on characters.
Yeah, I guess that's how. Yeah, you said these games excel by doing that. I guess that was how it set up. Like, hey, let's betray Dexter, and I'll pay you. And I was like really thinking about like, whoa,
Yeah, same.
what would happen? What would happen if I did that? Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah,
And then it didn't matter. It's just like,
thinking that you can have outcome changes, but it's in reality it's just the illusion of choice, of course.
what they did do pretty well though was like, I guess the ending is like the only time when obviously your choices really matter. I was surprised that there were so many different variations to the ending. Like, I didn't think that it would be like that, considering how the whole game had progressed to that point.
Just in case we are not getting ahead of ourselves, I do want to just wax poetic that games, almost as a medium, haven't gotten to the point where it's easy for them to create a lot of divergent paths earlier on. It's just easier at the end to give you all these choices at the very end because they can't. The more they have to account for earlier in the game that influences stuff later, you have to plot all that out. You have to create all of that. And that's what was impressive about bits of The Witcher 3 I played, because it seemed really early you could make important decisions. And Witcher 2 and Witcher 1 had stuff that would carry over between each game, and that was impressive. But in Cyberpunk, it does mostly seem to culminate at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not, unless it's just a very focused story-based game, like something like the Walking Dead game, Telltale games, you know what I mean? Where it's meant, even those choices don't really make a huge difference, but that's the whole gameplay aspect, is making choices to affect the story. Like, I guess it's a lot harder to make a game as big as this, with so many different players moving around.
And something that kind of bothered me too is, how like Jackie would call you like mono, and then that would be in like blue, like highlighted blue, like that's like you're on good terms with this
I figured
person.
that's stuff that can't be translated by your chip in your head.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
If it's highlighted, like sometimes Takamura would say Kusoama, and it doesn't translate.
Yeah, sometimes he would say that.
Yeah, it's translating that. I can't even think of the word, but it's not there's no English exact definition for it, I suppose, so that's all you get out of it.
Yeah. That's what I thought
Oh,
too.
gotcha. Yeah, I guess I interpreted that as like some Paragon versus Renegade, and like your character might change relationship with that person potentially.
The
But
game is
yeah, that makes a
strangely
lot more
just
sense, I would
a
say.
straight line.
It'd be it'd be funny like Jackie calls you Mono, but then if you're like the bad one, he goes, "Hey, what's up, dumb bitch?" Like that's his thing. He calls you bitch instead of
Yeah.
like. No, I just like yeah, it just seemed weird that there were. It was pretty bare bones. The story was incredibly focused and like really well done, but everything surrounding the story was there's not a lot of choices going
Not where
on.
it needed to be.
Yeah,
I almost think it's weird that they bothered to give you choices, considering how little they did with it.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, what's
Yeah.
V is her own character, their own character.
V is their own character. Yep.
So it's kind of like why not just make V you just watch these cutscenes, like and that's it. I wouldn't have any problem with that, I guess.
Yeah.
I would usually ask. I liked the dialogue. I liked just talking. I love, the things I like about this game. The thing I liked about it was like the characters would take time to just chill out. I love
Yeah.
moments like that in shows and any sort of media where they're just like, ooh, the moment before a job, we're gonna just like have a little conversation at the bar, and it's just like minor stuff, but and wow, those facial animations with the characters
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff there.
when
Yep.
you're sitting right next to them, holy moly, that is like insane stuff. Like they do a lot of really cool character moments, and like Johnny, everything with Johnny Silverhand. I want to talk about Johnny Silverhand.
I really,
for a
yeah.
while.
I don't know if it's time, but I'm super confused about Johnny Silverhand. I really don't know.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah,
Like, okay, first off, I have to acknowledge that there was the meta of this is Keanu Reeves, and that was pretty much all I knew about the game going into it is
Yep.
Keanu Reeves is in it, and that's unsettling to me because I look at this character that could have been looked like anyone and had his voice, but it looks exactly like him in real life. So I'm like half in the game and half looking at an actor in a movie, and it's hard to shake
Yep.
that. And then he's an asshole to you right away, right? He's trying to kill you. He's choking you.
yeah,
So he doesn't establish himself well. He's a terrorist, granted, against the corporation that is fucking up this world. But he doesn't give himself much of a reason for you to like him. So I was antagonistic towards him, and he kind of just took it and didn't change his attitude like at all for the longest time. So I was just an asshole to him the whole game. And then there's like one quest way later where he says something that seemed pretty genuine, heartfelt, and good. That was the only time I gave him any leeway.
yeah.
And then spoilers for ahead. The game wants you to like Johnny.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So if
Yeah.
if you chose not to like him like I did, it's almost like screwing yourself over.
That's a choice, dude. You made that choice.
I did.
That's why they chose such an actor, like as
Yeah,
Keanu
that's the
Reeves,
thing
to
is-
usher in that character.
They're giving you a choice, but they're only giving a payout to one half of it.
hell yeah.
There is no benefit to being an asshole to him other than that's the role play that I had, is that he was being a douchebag to me. So I'm going to respond to him by not kissing his ass like the game wanted me to. Mm-hmm. And then the whole game builds up and says, you have to like him.
Yeah, I took a different approach, which is probably not the approach that the game wanted me to take either, because it still felt like the game was like fighting me and like contradicting itself, and a lot of my conversations with Johnny became just kind of confusing because of the angle that I had decided to take with him right away.
Yeah, same.
Like,
There's
from a
really strange
perspective, like,
interactions there.
Yeah, I tried to like immerse myself in the idea of like if I had this AI in my head and we're like competing for identity, then I would probably just go full Stockholm syndrome to them and be worried that they're just gonna flip a switch off in my head, and I forget my grandmother or something. But when you take that stance with Johnny, if you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna do whatever this guy wants. I'll blow up Arasaka if he wants. I'll just go eat a hot dog if he wants. I'll do whatever. But when you do that, then there's certain dialogue options where there is no option for you to be like on his team either. So you have to be like opposed to him for no reason, and it would just randomly throw weird conflict in between us whenever like I was basically kissing his ass the whole time.
That's so weird. I don't understand.
I remember seeing stuff like that too.
I was just like, yeah, whatever, anything you want, Johnny. You're the coolest. And then he would just be like, you know what? I'm gonna strangle you. I don't know. It's just another weird thing where the fact that you had so many different options to choose how to respond to people's dialogue, but it actually didn't really make much of a difference at the end of the day either.
I know one instance where it might matter, but it's still strange that, again, these are established characters. V is an established character with pretty set motives, because there are ways that you can be away from V and have them act independently and hear what they have to say, what they think, outside of your control. So I don't know why they give you some of these options, especially when they're not balanced. I made the wrong choices even though they were right to me.
Well, I mean,
I made the right choices
whole
even though
thing.
the game determined they were wrong.
That's the whole thing with the game. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that where it's just how the story is. I don't think your decisions were wrong necessarily, right? I mean, just because you got barred off of a secret ending that is like ass backwards.
I mean, not just that. Him talking to you, especially the entire ending, it's like it doesn't matter how you treated him at all, because he's going to talk to you in a specific way, and V is going to respond in a different way as soon as you lose the option to have dialogue choices.
So what?
Yeah.
So I was having RPing at the start, and then at the end, it's not really RP anymore. It's now we're in the specific story moments, and depending on your choice as well, it's also going to clash harder than you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I guess since we're talking about difference in choice outcome, like what was your guys' first ending? What did your natural strain of choices result in?
It's a really tough choice because none of them sounded ideal. And going back and looking through all of the ones that I've seen, all the main ones, they all have their ups and downs. There's a lot to unpack in the endings.
Yeah.
I went to the same route that you did, Kay, with Pan the major side character, choosing to for some reason go to their base, say, "Hey, remember you owe me a favor," and then all of the Aldecaldos together say, "Let's all bum rush this Militech like mining base, give all of our lives for V, who's dying right now, isn't even really capable because they're collapsing all the time. We're all going to die for you now, on the off chance that you might be saved." And then
they were always telling you like, "Hey V, man, your family, you're one of us."
There's something to be said about all of the sacrifice and how much it means. It's just funny pragmatically. It's one life that isn't a guaranteed save, and it's just a merc who did a few missions for them, saved a couple people, and their entire all of them are like up in arms. Let's go. Let's all die just to do this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
V would do the same for us, so we're gonna have to do it for him.
And it does all work out. A lot of lives lost, but it works out. It's actually one of the better endings for V specifically, I think.
Oh, if that was one of the better endings, I don't even want to see how the bad ones turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked Johnny go in. I had a really big qualm with the ending. It felt really unfulfilling in a lot of different ways. For one thing, I was sitting there, those three choices, go with Arasaka, have Johnny do it, or ask Panam and the gang. And I was like, I don't want to send, like, I knew that they would be dying.
Yeah.
Like, that was no question that I would be responsible for their deaths. So I was like, I'm not doing that. And then I didn't want to do the Arasaka thing because fuck Arasaka. There's no way that they were going to be like chill about it all. There were going to be some sneaky thing. And then when it came to Johnny doing it, like everyone was like, you need to do this for yourself. Like it's just another thing that V just lets happen. It's like this. It feels like the whole story is like things are just happening to V. V doesn't have any sort of agency to do anything. It's just like always out of her hands. You know what I mean? So the ending I picked, I guess, I was like, I guess the lesser of all the evils would be just let Johnny take over, I guess. You know, and it just felt kind of lame. And then especially after the story.
Yeah, the post of that.
Yeah. V is like
bad.
the queen of the afterlife. And I was like, dude, V didn't do shit. Like she must be having imposter syndrome. Like that's what I was feeling. Like I don't deserve to be here. You know what I mean? It felt empty, and I feel like that's why V does the whole space thing. Like that's why V's trying to do this thing to try to justify the fact that, you know, she's alive still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that whole ending, like, I came away feeling like really empty.
Did you have did you guys have a relationship with someone?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Only Pan Am, but I thought that was part of the story.
No, that's side stuff. That's cool though. Panam, if I could have went with Panam, I would have.
Hey, I only learned that they were gender locked like yesterday.
Who'd you get stuck with?
Oh,
I just chose the one that seemed that I liked, but all the rest, you know, who can't you have as a girl? You can have Judy.
You can't have Panam.
You can't have Pan
That's
Am.
all that matters.
And you can't have
Yep.
Is it Carrie or River?
Carrie.
Okay, it's Carrie. Yeah, you do those quests. Carrie like
from
almost
the camp
accidentally
of
kisses you,
Aldecados?
and Pan Am is like putting her legs up on you and flirting with
Panam
you
is
and stuff.
flirty as hell. Yeah.
And I was like
Yeah.
uncomfortable. I was like, I have a girlfriend in this game. I can't, like, I'm pushing them away, scared of the repercussions of that happening. And I guess the whole time it doesn't matter. The scene plays out the same until you cross the line, I guess, is how it works. That's weird. Anyway, you woke up in a big mansion with someone.
I woke up in a big mansion with Judy, and that was another more rain on the parade.
I had that
ending.
same thing, and it was really weird.
It's like depressing as hell, and I felt like I was kind of pissed. I was
Yeah,
like,
because
dude,
that's like the strongest point in the game for me, where it definitely felt like, how did all this happen to you without your control?
and like they're just breaking up at the end of it, and it just felt like, oh, I can't take a victory lap around the game because of fucking Judy being a little bitch that I'm dying.
Moody
Booty Judy.
And like it was just super, yeah, it just really kind of colored the ending of the game for me. All those things combined, like I just felt like, oh, my choices, they don't really matter, because at the end of the day, you know, I had all these people do this shit for me, and Judy is just going to leave the city even though we're together, and that's like what, you know, the whole side quest thing was all about. It just felt bad.
But you suffocated her by becoming a legend. And who knows what happens with the other romantic options in that scenario.
It's really interesting because I think Judy always gets the short end of the stick. She's always going to be sad no matter what you pick.
If you go with the Pan Am Aldecaldo's ending, it's a really good end for her. She's like happy.
That's good.
Because she goes with you. You leave the city.
Oh, with Judy.
With Judy. She comes with you.
Yeah.
So that's a really strong ending. That's why I think that ending works really well if you only care about V. They don't put a big highlight on it, but a lot of people die to reach that. More people die in that ending than any other one, I think.
Yeah.
It's for V to succeed.
Yeah, but they're just little side characters.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like Saul.
yeah, like Saul. And then depending on your choices in the end, you do or do not even learn that V only gets to live for 6 months after that anyway.
Really.
That's good. Like, the whole time I was like, why can't I just do this myself? Mm-hmm. When those choices, I was just thinking like, this is not like, why do I have to ask all these people to do things for me?
Yeah.
I want to go and do this. Like, I want to go, you know, in as V. I don't want to go in as Johnny and do all this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
And guess what?
Yeah, I think I
Guess
know.
what that secret ending was? Holy shit. So you get access to the secret ending by, I guess, being friends with Johnny. And then you have to sit, which, you know, I was friends with Johnny because I loved Johnny. Like, even if he was a fucking dickhead to me, he came around and, like, their relationship for me grew pretty organically, and it felt good. and I really liked talking to Johnny, and I was like best buds with him. We were bros, and at the end, he like the secret ending. You sit at that little choice menu for 5 minutes, and then Johnny goes, "Damn, it's pretty hard to pick which one of your friends you're gonna send to their deaths, huh?" And I was like, "Huh? Yeah, it really is that. That's exactly what I'm, you know." And then he's like, "Good thing you got a friend who's already dead, who's willing to join you on a suicide mission." And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So you go in
Wow.
with just Johnny, and you just storm Arasaka Tower by yourself, and it's really fucking hard, and it's really really fucking cool because if you die, that's it. That's the end of the game.
Whoa.
Like you die, and then it shows the credits, and
Whoa.
your total health is going down because the chip is like slowly dying, you know, and your max health is every time there's a relic malfunction, your total health is going down. So the stakes were like insane. And it just like that combat
Wow.
challenge, the whole game, piss pee pee baby easy the whole time. Like, you know, I could still die in 2 hits, but this like the stakes were so high and the guys did so much damage. I had to be playing like on the top of my game, and it was like the most intense and most fun I had playing. It felt so fluid because I
Wow.
was actually getting challenged by the Arasaka guards. I was throwing out all my hacks, you know, taking my guns out, like blasting them from really far, sprinting around, diving undercover. It was so good. But the ending of the game is the same. You become the queen of the afterlife or whatever, or you give the body to Johnny at the end. It's the exact same, but it just adds a
Whoa.
whole layer of context to it for me that made it a lot more enjoyable.
Hearing about
Like,
it sounds that way to me. That was like what I was
That
hoping
does
for the
sound
end to
really
be.
cool.
yeah, it was just interesting. Like, I don't know why it was a secret thing, but it just made the ending way just, and it's just contextually, it doesn't change anything else. Like, it's the exact same thing where V is the queen of the afterlife or whatever. It
Oh
doesn't change any of
man.
that. It just adds context for you. And it just felt like, yes, this is my V actually taking things into her own hands, you know, doing it herself. And it just felt really good.
That's almost yeah. It almost is even more annoying than that it's locked, depending on
Yep.
your choices, because
Yeah, that should
you
just
have
be
to
a
be
straight
friends
up
with Johnny
dialogue
to
choice.
not trust Johnny enough to give him the body and do it yourself. Doesn't that
Well,
sound a little?
no, it's not. It's not trusting. It's not. It's because you're friends that he's, you
No,
know.
no. I'm talking about the other ending where you give him the body.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
have
Where
to
you're like,
be.
you can do it, Johnny.
You have to not be friends with him to do that. You have to be friends with him to do it with him. You
Yeah,
know? So
it's
there's a
weird.
little bit.
Yeah.
If they wanted you to be friends with him in the end, I don't know why it was a choice. Is
Yeah,
all I'm saying. I think that context
Right.
sounds amazing because, you know, I think all of the endings are fair enough to take however you want, but how you get there is almost interesting because, you know, I won't spoil the other endings, but the way that they play out and some of the overlap, it's more or less makes a different amount of sense depending on what you've been doing throughout the game, and people dying in ways that
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. It's very strange.
yeah,
I think the very ending of the game is really up to you on what you prefer, and there's a specific way. If you give up your body or keep your body, you probably want to choose a specific ending to get to that point too, because then otherwise it doesn't make sense.
that's the thing that I had another problem with was that like I liked Johnny way more than V as a character. Like V is very empty. Like it doesn't seem.
Yeah.
I've mentioned the. It's
Just
a
a
vessel.
vessel.
V's a vessel, even though they have their own characters. So there's even a more disconnect between that whole thing. And Jay wanted to give Johnny my body, but like it doesn't at all make sense within the context of the story.
Yeah,
Johnny
not at
is
all.
he's doing all this. He does come around and he's like, I'm gonna get your body back. You know, he knows like that's what his goal is, and like it's just this weird moment of like I wanted to do it, but it didn't. Like I wasn't compelled to do it because it didn't make sense. Like Johnny wouldn't do it. You know.
Yeah.
Well, like, so how was the ending with you then, C? If your relationship with Johnny was low, like, what happened at the end? Like,
Yeah, that's what's really weird is because you can treat him like an asshole the whole time, never snap at him at every opportunity, never give him the benefit of the doubt at all because he's just like a hostile parasite to your body. You know, you just want to expel him. You know, made that clear the whole game to him. And then you get there and you can say, I'm going to trust you with my body, which doesn't make any sense. Especially because he betrays your trust in side quests to even unlock that option. You give him the body and then he does a bunch of shit that he never said he was going to do. And then you can choose to give him the body permanently too, and he'll fight you the whole way. No, don't do this. No, this is your body. He fights you like multiple times walking to make that choice. Yeah. But if you chose a different path, he doesn't fight you, or you don't. There's no. It just happens. Depending on which path you choose, whoever it is that you're in control of will fight you to make that choice.
Yeah, that's what was really interesting because I know you know. Depending on what ending you choose or how you decide to attack Arasaka, like, you're in control of someone else at the end. So, like, sometimes you'll be in Johnny's perspective and you'll actually talk to V's engram. And, yeah, and you don't have any choice over what that V is saying. And that's a whole, that's really cool about, I think a really interesting and cool theme of this game is identity. Obviously, the whole story of your sense of self and, you know, being a copy of yourself and, like, you know, trying to decide which self is the true self is really interesting, especially in regards to this chip that has Johnny's engram on it, because eventually you're playing as Johnny in that ending, and it's like, who's gonna take this body? Whose self will fill this body? And even that engram of V, is that the true V? Because
it says Johnny in the subtitles.
That's a copy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, because Alt copies V over. So V, as she was born into Night City, is dead. It's just her personality copy. That's being copy and pasted to a temporary drive, and then being copy and pasted back into the body. It's just really, like, there's a lot of cool things to think about, like, just regarding, like, identity and just what that means, you know?
Especially in the realm of neural interconnectivity, when humans are uploading themselves into digital spaces. Like, I saw ads for, like, those relics, where people can get their whole consciousness uploaded onto a relic, where it's like a perfect digital version of themselves.
And that's what the whole ending, like, you know, you free all those people and they just get absorbed into some huge collected consciousness, basically. It's just like some weird, like, the internet in that game is fucked up. But yeah, I think that the Johnny ending is best. I think that one's really, really good. And it just has a lot of work put into it. But it just doesn't feel justified within the story that they created. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, they all have their ups and downs, and it's totally... there's good things and bad things about all of them, and whatever one you think is best is just your choice, I guess. And that is interesting. I do like that, especially because they give you, like, there are 3 choices, and then I guess the secret. But then at the end of those, there's little binary choices too, that make more or less sense, I guess.
And then, who you decide to let keep the body, and who goes into the afterlife or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. Just different kind of flavors of the same ending. But your ending sounds the coolest though. Like where it's like such a high stakes moment. Because could you imagine, like, you and Johnny working together again, and you get through everything, but then just get killed by Adam Smasher at the last second?
Oh my god, I can't even begin to describe, like, how much fun that last part was, because I was dying a lot, and I'd be getting these autosaves a little bit farther in, you know what I mean? And I would just reload the autosave so I didn't have to sit through all that dialogue and the waiting and everything. I just reload this autosave and be like, okay, let's go. And then I'd just, like, be trying all this shit and, like, fighting. So, like, it was so cool. And then, you know, Adam Smasher came, not a problem. He was fucking baby PP baby easy because I'm a cool hacker. And I just froze him in place and just shot him 1 million times in the head, and then he died. And that's how I fought every boss. I just, like, freeze him, and then I would light him on fire and do a bunch of dot damage, and then I'd take my Lizzie out and be like, and then he was on his knees, and then I took out my katana, and then I said, Johnny Silverhand sends his regards. Cut his head off. And then Johnny's like, dude, we don't have time for this. We gotta go. You know, it was really funny, the, like, the context of you going into the tower. Like, with Rogue, like, she planned everything out and knew where everything was that you needed to get. You know what I mean? Like, we have to go down here, and then we have to open up the mainframe, and then go downstairs and plug into the, you know, into the Mikoshi. And, but when you storm it with Johnny, they're just like, I don't know, it's probably downstairs. And then it's like, you know, you see it on the elevator thing, and it's like, oh, the Netrunner lab. That sounds like where we should go. Like, they're just fucking bumbling around. It's just the coolest bro shit.
That sounds like the ending that the game needed.
I agree. That sounds like it. That's what it needed as well. But what I find weird about the Rogue ending and the Aldecaldo ending is they're like you go through the same bit. So I guess this is a bit of a spoiler for both of them. Apologies in advance. But that you go to the same bit. You start off at different points of the tower, but you end up in the same room, and you end up fighting Smasher. But what doesn't make sense is the Aldecaldos are so fucking loud and take so long to get there. And then in the Rogue one, it's the smoothest op. You come in so quiet. You only fight like a handful of guys that you can stealth through, and then you blow them all up by hacking in with ult. And then Smasher still shows up and just kills Rogue. It makes no sense to me. But that's only because I did the Aldecaldo thing first.
Yeah, it was really funny when I did the solo thing. Because, you know, that point when you open that door, like, and then you look at whoever's next to you.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at Rogue, and it was like, let's go. And then Adam Smasher came. Like, it was just me opening the thing, and I was just, and no one was there. Like, I was just looking at this blank thing for a while.
What?
Like, and then Adam Smasher came and blew me up and threw me 1,000 feet away. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. Like, there's a lot of things like that where it's just like for instance, if we're gonna get nitpicky in the story shit, Yorinobu Arasaka killed Saburo Arasaka via smashing the back of his head into that TV thing. But then he goes, "Hey, my dad was poisoned." And then there's like no internal investigation or like coroner report or anything. Like, is that, I guess I was just like, oh, he must have lots of money to buy guys off. But I feel like there's like a fucking smash mark on the TV where it's like there's blood leaking out, you know? And I'm like, dude, that he did not get poisoned. Like, see this right here? You know, like there's just some funny things that they need to, that are just not justified in the game.
They kind of addressed that one, I think, in the sister of Arasaka.
Yeah, Hanako. That's what I was gonna say. She's does
just
say,
like, honestly, no one believed that he was poisoned from the beginning. We all knew that he killed him and was dirty.
But,
yeah, I guess.
It's
just funny that no one can like.
I mean,
that's just
in this
Arasaka.
dystopia of Cyberpunk, that seems significantly more believable to me. Because I don't want to get too real, but think about all the shit people can get away with just using money in the modern world right now. This is fucked up Cyberpunk 2077 world.
Can I lament about something and maybe vent a little bit?
Sure. I mean, that's what this podcast is for, my brother.
All right. You guys want to know who my favorite character was? Past tense.
Takemura.
Yeah,
Takemura's he was my bro. I think I know where this is going already.
I like all the missions with Takemura and V's like interaction and just their vibe together. You know, they had such a really unique like relationship, and it was so playful. You know what I mean? Like, I loved getting Takemura's stupid fucking like old like grandpa texts where he just sends like weird shit and like selfies and like just funny stuff. And I'm like, dude, this
so
guy,
cool. I love him.
He's so cool. Every
he was my
moment
Johnny.
that you get. Yeah, I wish, you know, I guess it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, he goes, "Hey, I've been reading a lot of suicide poems."
Kusama.
You know, that samurai do before they kill themselves, they write a death poem. And they're very eloquent and very good. But you know what? I'm not a samurai, so my last words are this: rotten hell, Kuso-ama. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I thought we were like best bros, and you don't even work for Arasaka anymore. Like, what's aren't you glad that I'm alive? Like, what is your fucking deal, my bro? Like, it made me so, I would just sat there like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a little disappointing that all of the relationship you build up with him does not matter at all if you do anything other than the Hanako route, the Arasaka route, because that was when I got to that decision at the end of the game, the first person I wanted to turn to was Takamura.
Yeah.
But he wasn't an explicit option. It was Arasaka. And if you play the game, you know that's like the last thing you probably want to do.
Yep.
Right.
So it was the last thing that I ever checked out. And it's, he's a total bro. That whole mission with you.
All those, every interaction, I just loved their relationship a lot.
But when it comes to Takamura, you know where I'm going with this, Jay?
It doesn't matter.
He betrays you, right?
Well, the big thing with Takamura is that if he's even alive in your game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I
didn't even know.
Because you just saved him, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I was having a chat with someone about this game, and it was interesting to me because in the course of the game, you get to that mission, the mandatory mission where you meet with Hanako and Takamura, and then you fall through that thing, and Takamura is like stuck upstairs, and Johnny's like, "We gotta go. The door is like right there. There's only an objective marker to leave the building. There's nothing else, and so you just can follow that route." And I remember doing that. And then you meet with a doll shortly after that Hanako speaks through, and she says something that stuck out to me where it was like, V says, "I wonder what Takamura would say if he was here." And Hanako replies, and I thought, that's so weird. I really wanted to save him, but there wasn't an option. But that was like such a gamey thing to me that I reloaded my save and saw, you can save him. Yeah. You can optionally save Takamura, but it's not an objective in a game filled with objective markers that...
Yep.
usually wouldn't hide anything. I don't know why such a choice like that is
That's
hidden.
A good point. Like, optional. Talk to the Aldecados.
It's not on there at all. You don't even if you start going in the direction of saving him, it doesn't pop up until you get to a certain point. And then Johnny criticizes you. Remember Johnny, the guy you like so much? He says, "What are you doing, moron? Turn around and leave."
Yeah, no shit, because he's Arasaka. It's perfect.
But you can save Takamura.
Yeah, Johnny's character. I mean, I was just like, "Oh, Johnny."
It's just funny,
Takamura, dude.
Yeah, he opposes you at all points. But even though Takamura's been like a good guy to you, and he doesn't work for Arasaka technically, but he sticks with family because that's Arasaka. But I find it interesting because I like it. I like that you can save him and it's not explicitly spelled out. But I hate it for that same reason. Because it's so easy for somebody to miss that. And the game conditioned you to just follow those markers and, if it's not an option, it's not an option, right? Mm-hmm. It's a game. You can't know that that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. If I could go back in time, I would let him die in that building. Yeah. Because, I'd love to cherish, our memories together and just be like, damn, he was my best bud. Rather than have him just turncoat on me over nothing, over me wanting to survive. I don't know. And then my other choice would be don't interact with Judy. Just stay far away from Judy. There's a big red flag at Judy. Stay away from her.
Everything you're telling me, I did flawlessly. Never interacted with Judy and never saved Takamura.
Then you got the choice ending.
Yep. In fact, Judy texts you in the epilogue. She texts you and she's just like, "Hey, V, how's it going? Miss hanging out. Wonder what you're up to." Ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been the ending though, where you could save Judy and it would have been good because she's happy there.
Oh.
But I see that. If you choose the suicide one, wow.
Oh, damn. I want to
that one made me so sad when Judy calls you.
Well, she's going to be sad no matter what. It's her own she made the castle and now she's going to fucking live in it. It's her fault. I'm mad at Judy. I hate Judy.
It's her fault that you chose to kill yourself.
No, it's her fault to be sad no matter what you do. Guess what, Judy? Remember earlier when we were talking about time travel? That's the time travel aspect. You get to go back to the point of no return and try to do things better to get the perfect ending. That's canon inside of Night City.
Yeah.
The chip has the power to rewind time, and you go back and you're like, okay, maybe this ending I'll make Judy happy. I'll storm Arasaka myself, and she'll see the spark in me, and we'll be just in love. And nope, she's just always like, oh, do you ever feel like you're a lost atom in this whole city? I feel alone. And I'm like, dude, you have me, fucking moron. And they're like, it doesn't matter. And then I pick Johnny. I pick Johnny's thing. And then she like calls and is like, V, I don't know where. Like, she's suddenly so lost without my existence. And I'm like, fucking choose a side. You know?
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Wow, I am glad I stayed away from Judy in that case.
Yeah.
That's why I'm curious about the other relationships, is because none of us explored them.
I should have took her going like, when she said, I was thinking about leaving Night City, and then I met you. I should have been like, ooh, then actually you should leave, because that's what you wanted to do in the first place, and you're not going to be getting over that desire anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, nope. It is.
I just hate that ending. I just hate that ending because it sets you up to fail for no reason. I don't think that's Judy's fault. Where you wake up in the mansion.
What? To fail? I think that was good. I thought that was good.
With Judy, though.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming that they just do that with everyone. They set you up to fail in that moment because, why? Why does it have to be like that? Because the game decided that everyone was just going to hate you and you were going to go off to space because you're empty?
Man, yeah.
What do you imagine that another relationship's like, hey, good luck out there in your suicide mission to space?
Hey, it's
See
not
you later,
suicide.
buddy.
Maybe it's a suicide mission. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. That should be how it is. Everyone knows, like, hey, V's only got a couple more months left. If he wants to pull off this crazy thing, let's just let V do V.
But V doesn't talk about it in that ending. Even though I wanted to tell her, V explicitly doesn't let you say anything about it. You put up this wall.
I thought that I remember hiding it the first time around, but then in the second time when I did the Arasaka storming ending, I said, "You know what it is? I'm dying. Like, come on."
And then after that, it's like, I don't want to talk about it right now. When Judy goes on that line of thought, you specifically halt the conversation.
I wouldn't want to talk. I mean, she knows the reason. She knows why V's, getting eaten up. You know what I mean?
It seems
like she knows about the chip. She knows about the chip.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, "Yep, go get out of here." Then I just have no sympathy for Judy. It makes me mad.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
There's just, if I could go back and break up with Judy before I do that, I just feel like that whole ending would be just such a cool victory lap. Like, yes, V is finally at the top, and like V deserves it. But there's always the little
just sad in the shower the whole time.
Yeah, well, it's really cool about the self-fulfillment aspect of it. Like, V did what Johnny, tried to do and dismantled Arasaka, and still even then didn't feel fully fulfilled. You know what I mean? So now she's... Huh?
Is that what V wanted to do?
What?
Because of what Johnny
dismantle
wanted.
Arasaka, or is that...
No.
I figured that's just what Johnny wants to do.
That's what just happened. That's what she happened to do to save her life. You know what I mean? And then it just, Arasaka collapsed because of this whole huge thing. But then, I just think that that's a really cool aspect of it. And especially with the context of that Johnny was controlling V's body through that ending, I think it's just interesting thoughts of like, there a lot of the side quests and stuff tackled some really, really cool concepts and really cool themes. And I just, it was handled pretty well. Nothing was really spelled out. Like Carrie's whole thing, living in Johnny's shadow and just like finding his own groove.
Yeah.
Like, it was just really good and well done. Like the way he was acting out, akin to like how Johnny would. I don't know. It was just really well handled.
Yeah, I liked that there were those missions. It's kind of unfortunate that they don't all, like, some side missions are built better than others.
A lot better.
Yeah, like, there's River. River Ward is also a character who's fleshed out a lot more than the others, and he's got some cool detective stuff that kind of takes advantage of fighting crime with all these that's where you can do some cool brain dance stuff too. They didn't use brain dance too many times in the game, and I liked brain dance for what it was, but it wasn't explored enough.
Yeah.
And that's another opportunity to test it out and see what it would be like to dive multiple layers into someone's dream state using brain dances. Ooh, I liked that a lot, but there's no differentiating that from any other side quest in the game besides doing it.
Very cyberpunk-esque.
Very cyberpunk if you were a crime fighter, I guess. Although, if that were the case, you could probably just teleport in swarms to any evildoer. So I don't know why they don't just do that. I'm curious about all of the music, the samurai.
Yeah. That was what
stuff.
I really wanted to talk about that because I think it's music is an integral part.
I missed out on that. I didn't pick up. I don't understand it.
In fact, let's segue into a new segment that I think might start doing, depending on if we get any mail, is listener questions. So, usually at the end of these podcasts, we reveal, what our future game coverage will be. So if you happen to listen and you have like a specific question or, insightful comment or something like you want us to talk about, like a specific, like if it was about Cyberpunk and you're like, ooh, I want to hear, what their thoughts on this or, something like that, you can email us and we might, be able to read it and cover some questions on the podcast itself. Our podcast email is midfespodcast@gmail.com. That's MIDFESPODCAST@gmail.com. So yeah, might as well open it up, see if anyone actually asks questions about any games.
DMs are open.
DMs are now open. And yeah, maybe even Twitter DMs. I don't know if that would work too, but I don't know. I forgot what our Twitter handle is. I think it's MidFest Podcast too.
Thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's the same thing. We'll leave it in the description. Anyway, got some questions from my boy here. What's your favorite samurai song, and why is Jade the only one that can answer this?
Yep, that sounds correct so far. I don't know any samurai songs. I know Chippin' In because they said the name of it at one point.
But How about you, Kay?
Yeah, I actually don't know the physical names of any of the songs, but if I had to pick one that was my favorite, it's going to be the one that they played when Johnny decides to do that concert back when he's storming Arasaka. He does a concert outside. And that actually ties into my funny glitch moment.
Dude, so you got the same glitch as I did.
Oh!
I think I might have gotten the same glitch as you.
Yep.
Okay,
all right,
let's hear it.
Perfect.
Let's hear if it's the same.
That song played until I shut my computer down.
Oh, okay. It wasn't that bad for me.
Oh,
but
it played
song...
nonstop. I was doing other stuff in the game. I went and I did like a bunch of... I had like a huge play session, and that was like right at the beginning of my play session. So for like 3 hours nonstop, I'm out there doing like Aldecado stuff, like finishing up the Aldecado's quest line. And that song is still playing in my game.
Wow.
And I went and did like several big story things. Like there's all these big reveals, like Alt's still alive. There's all this crazy stuff. And I'm learning about how the consciousness is split into a million different little pieces and how there's life beyond death. And then there's still just this music playing. And it's just like a loop of probably 5 seconds of the song at that point too.
That's what happened to me too. It was that initial riff on loop over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever. Yep, he's inciting the riot. Cool. And then I was in the mission and it was still going and I was like, okay. And it just was the same thing. But except my game glitched again and I couldn't. That was the only time that I couldn't progress the story, was like I couldn't open a door. I couldn't because you had to blow up that door or something in Arasaka Tower. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh shit, there's guards coming. And no one was coming, and I was just like hearing that loop like over and over again, and I was just like, okay. And then I just closed my game and it stopped. So
yeah.
There was one time when I was trying to see the other endings, and I was trying to get into the well, and then it wouldn't let me get in. I had to choose the other option or reload a save. So if you were a person who didn't know that that was an issue, that was a bug, you would accidentally think you were forced to do one specific ending.
Yeah.
Wow, what the hell?
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I've also had music and stuff play, but go on.
The music thing, like I mentioned before, like all these quests have music names, popular song titles as the quest titles. And like I feel like Samurai Johnny's band is like the music is used at all these integral points, and it just has this cool like this thematic resonance with the actual story and game. Like the song Never Fade Away, holy shit. That's the one that's like there's the remix of it for the credits. That song like just provides so much. Like if you go back and listen to the song now that you've beat the game, like it just has this huge tie, and like it's just it's really, really good. All the songs just seem to have this this connection to the story. It just has this really cool just tie-in with all the themes of the game, and just the fact that Never Fade Away, I think that's the first. Oh, that's the one that glitches out, actually, if I remember right. Oh. That's the one that glitched out, that mission called Never Fade Away, when you go into the tower as Johnny. It just adds a lot of context, to the whole vibe of the game, and I really, really enjoyed just the fake band Samurai and like Johnny's lyrics and stuff, and just how it ties in with V's struggle and everything. It's just really, really cool. Maybe it requires a little bit of extra digging because you're not going to be able to like read the lyrics or anything like that. But I just think listening to the music and just seeing the song titles and how they tie into everything, just specifically Never Fade Away. Just if you just like the other ones, okay, whatever. Toss those aside. Even though Black Dog is the best one, listen to Black Dog. But Never Fade Away like ties in so well to the game, and that's why they used it as the credit song. Like that's the song for the credits. Like it's just really, really impactful, especially having completed the game. It's cool.
Yeah, that honestly sounds perfect. Yeah, I also never really made much of a connection when there was samurai music playing. Mm-hmm. All I knew is that this game has a lot of really good OST stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know what's up with that. That's strange because, in any other game, it's just kind of dressing. Like, okay, you're playing a concert for 25, 30 seconds at most, and then you move on. Okay, that just felt like a cutscene. There didn't seem to be any significance. So maybe on a different playthrough in the future, that would be an interesting thing to keep an eye open for. An ear open for.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I just really liked where you're just this like fucking terrorist dude, rock star man. It's cool because what I think it's Never Fade Away. He wrote about alt because the lyrics seem like that's around at the time when they broke up or whatever, and she got fucked. She got fucking killed. But the lyrics like translate into the future and can be like just taken and looked through this whole separate lens. It is just dressing, I suppose, but it just has a really cool connection.
I can appreciate that.
I think is worth. Yeah, I think it's really worth like at least just listening to the song.
To me, that's like lore. That is.
Yeah.
It's extra. It's very, very impactful for the people who pick up on it and look into it, and I appreciate that. Even though, for me, I'm never gonna pick up on that stuff on a first go.
Yeah, but I definitely recommend. Samurai are cool. They have cool music.
You've like the whole game. Everyone pays such reverence to Johnny Silverhand and Samurai.
Yeah,
it seems obvious in retrospect, but yeah, I missed it. I appreciate it though. I'll have to go look into it afterwards.
So 2. Oh, you know what? You kind of answered this actually, because you gimped your playthrough a little bit, right? Where you were just not.
Well, let's hear the question.
Okay. It says, here we go. Most RPGs just tend to become a numbers game, whether it's stacking crit chance, health, armor. But I feel like Cyberpunk's at its best when you're playing at low health and armor, but strong enough to take enemies out with a couple shots or swings of a bat or a sword. Movement and time slowing effects combined with glass cannon playstyle is the way I have the most fun. I was wondering if you guys were having fun by the end of the game when you had access to all the perks, mods, and levels, or if you had to gimp yourself like I did to enjoy the later stages.
A very layered, loaded question.
And what's your response? Me, yeah, I totally just hacked, and it still felt good, but it was just easy as hell, I guess, too.
Yeah, I did a little bit of everything, but it still just seemed super duper easy by the time you get to the end, especially if you invest in hacking. Then, like, even though I wasn't even a hacking main for most of the game, by the end of the game I still was able to pour enough extra points into hacking where it just made all of my fights so much easier. Because it's like, you can be stabbing some guy in the face, you can be shooting some guy in the face, but that you're limited to damage, based on how much you can click or how many bullets you can put out. But then if you add hacking to a normal set of damage, then it's like you're dealing all these damages to people over time, hacking them while you're stabbing them in the face.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
a very
just
good
adds
way to look at it.
so much power to your gameplay.
And hacking is instant too, and slows time if you are looking at someone.
Yeah.
Right? There's some
Yeah,
element
you just
of when
have to
you're
hit tab
scanning.
mid-combat, like in between your swings, and then you can just do a hack on someone and go right back to stabbing them.
I do think that it is a numbers game. They just don't. There's a really, really low stakes. The number, like, for me, being someone who likes to collect and complete, fill out those checklists and stuff, that gun wall was a big incentive to me, and collecting all the iconics. But then they're not useful to you unless you can upgrade them, and the whole crafting system was stupid because it almost felt necessary. If you wanted to have good equipment at the end of the game, you would have to craft, therefore invest like everything into it. But then the game also just betrays that whole idea because it doesn't matter what you do. You can kind of just kill everything anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, you can make your own fun. They give you all those different arm implants that are all... You could just use only those probably the whole game. Beat the hell out of everybody with gorilla arms.
I love those.
I used the mantis arms for like 2 minutes, but they seemed cool. The mono wire seemed a little lame, but you could probably have some fun with it. So, yeah, I think this is a game where you have the liberty to make your own fun.
Yeah. Like, I picked gorilla arms mainly for the aesthetics, because I wanted to have cool robot arms. Those were the closest ones that looked cool.
And they helped with those dumb, broken...
And they helped with the boxing matches.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about them, but fist fighting was probably the most busted thing in the whole game.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
Just take his word for it.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it.
I think I liked fist fighting. It wasn't as bad as everyone says, but those fights were fucked.
No, dude, it's so okay. I have to talk about it then.
Okay, fucking let's take a side note here. We'll go back to the questions in a second. You guys all had such big problems with those fist fights. I don't know why everyone was having so many big problems. I was like, I didn't even have any points in body.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I don't know what was happening.
When a guy is winding up a punch and his fist is going forward for the punch, and then he just slides forward 5 feet, still doesn't hit you, and you take over half your health and damage. That never happened to you?
Welcome to video games.
No, games.
The guys slide around. They hit lock to you.
Yeah,
it's just
welcome
like Dark
to
Souls 2
Cyberpunk, not video games in general.
Dark Souls 2 combat is
no,
the same.
Dark Souls 2 has.
They'll snap to you. They'll appear. They'll like flash step over to you.
There's in a better game, in most other games, there's some decent tracking on moves and stuff like that. But this is like literal. Yeah, there's more. Some characters actually have flash stepping in this game, which I think is them trying to show you what the time slow is when perceived from V, is those guys that zip towards you. But in a fist fight, it's like their feet aren't moving and they're sliding around. They're doing, they're kneeing you. They're doing like a jab combo, but none of the hit, like there's no impact. There's no weight to it. You just watch your health go down.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that. That is funny.
It's dumb as hell. I
just didn't have any, I don't know what it was. I was just dodging. I was playing correctly, I guess. I just didn't, I was able to somehow
I'm not saying they're impossible or hard. I'm just saying they're busted beyond belief. The most busted type of thing in the game in terms
Yeah,
of combat.
okay, very, very true. I agree with that.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I never had much
finally on the same
experience with
page.
fist fighting at all, so I can't really speculate on it.
You don't.
Yeah,
There's no point.
there's no
Don't
point.
fist fight. Don't get in fist fights. That's
Just
pretty
hack.
good advice.
Just hack.
Just
dude.
Yeah,
hack.
just hack them.
How about this? Did you guys have a head cannon for your V? Did you have? I found like the only really way that you could roleplay is by having some sort of head cannon. You know what I mean? Did you guys have any sort of like personality, or how did your V end up the way they are? Anything like that?
Yeah, I thought that the V portrayed in the game was pretty close to what I was imagining before I got into it, except that sometimes canon V in the game, not my headcanon, the real V, would say, would do the, oh, now I'm going to drink and smoke all the time. Now I'm going to be really nice and be non-committal to some of my actions. That was the stuff that broke character for me because I was more cold, street kid, ruthless.
Yeah. How about you, Kay?
My V, I think I really was looking forward to the whole corpo lifestyle. And a lot of my immersion kind of went out the door when they disallowed my corporate lifestyle. So I already was just like, well, my character is broken mentally, and Kant is really sad that he lost his job and everything. So
So he's just bummed out. He just wanted to
yeah,
be a
he's
corporate
just kind of
slave.
lashing out on society that he dedicated his whole life towards the corporations, and then this is how they did him.
Nice. Yeah, my V, I was a street punk for sure. I imagine that she was super brash, getting into fights a lot, all that kind of thing. Then Jackie died. And then that's when she started learning doing hacking stuff. Because she wanted to, stick out of the fray and have a little bit more control of the battlefield after his death. And that's kind of how I justified, because it didn't really make sense for my character to be a hacker for a while. I was like, why would she be hacking? A street kid shouldn't know, know all this cool shit. But, I was a brawler, samurai sword user, killing person, and then I became more of a hacker character after I watched my friend die next to me.
That's fair.
It was pretty cool.
Katanas just seemed better than the knives. I just want to make a side note. They were
Yeah,
cooler.
it's weird.
They were cooler, and they always seemed more effective for me.
Well, that's pretty true to reality, I'd say.
Knives had higher DPS numbers every time, just because they swing faster.
Yeah.
But the katanas, just using them felt really good.
It felt way better. Oh, I didn't say this earlier, but some of the skills are fucking stupid. Like the knife throw.
Oh yeah, talk about that knife throw.
I didn't
Oh my
mention
God,
that.
your
but
knife just goes away.
Knife throw was one of the first I think it might have been the first ability I got in the game. So, because I thought that's perfect for stealth. I'm going knife build. I can sometimes throw knives. Yeah, and it just destroys your knife if you throw it. Throw a legendary knife and it's gone forever. There's no recovery. You just have to get a new one. Dumbest thing in the whole. And it disables your ability to block with the knife, so you can't counterattack in a melee fight. You can't just block an attack. There's a couple skills that are just redundant and dumb and outright bad like that, but that was for sure beyond stupid.
Yep, that I feel the same way.
So we talked a little bit about things that broke immersion in the game, but was there a moment where you felt super connected to V and the story at all, where you were just really invested into it? Was there a specific cutscene that hit you super hard or anything like that?
That's a good question. I bet there is, but I would struggle to remember now.
I guess the biggest moment of that to me was just when you survived, you come back from death's door essentially, and Takemura just pulls you out of that, and then those dudes are jumping onto your car and ripping that thing apart. That just felt like some scene from the Terminator or something, and I felt very just super enthralled with what was going on right at that point too. And that was also the first point for me where I hadn't already been spoiled of the story by the trailer too. So yeah, that I'd have to say choose that point.
Yeah, I was into that whole. I really liked the rock bottom section of the game where it was just like, ooh, Jackie's dead. This asshole in your head is like killing you slowly and like kicking your ass, and it just felt like such a punch in the gut. That whole moment where it was just like, oh, this is bad news.
Yep.
But I think I really liked a lot of the conversations with the main conversations with Johnny. Like there was one outside the Pacifica where he talks about like his true motivation for wanting to dismantle Arasaka and stuff like that. Like it's just like, and then there was the really nice conversation in the hotel when he's like, hey, would you take a bullet for me? Talking a little bit about his service in the military and stuff.
Yep.
And I thought those moments, just the little moments like that, and all the minor ones like drinking, with people and talking, all of those kind of absorbed me in a lot. That's just me.
That's interesting because you can tell him you won't take a bullet for him, and he just ignores you and says the same thing.
I took a bullet. I'd take a bullet for Johnny.
I think I was actually, when I think about it, I was the most immersed when you begin the final stretch, and then you have to go up with Misty. When you go up with Misty and you sit on that balcony, that was the peak of the game for me, having to weigh everything that had happened.
Yeah.
I didn't, maybe I didn't like the choices as much. I would have preferred something else, but the feeling, the tension of being in that moment,
yeah,
that was palpable.
Where Victor's like, you need to do this now.
Yeah.
Like, and anything that you say, like, I'm trying or I have been doing it, like he has some kind of snippy response, like, well, obviously not, because you keep ending up here. Like, you need to do, like, there's no try anymore.
Everybody has your back, but at the same time, they can't help you.
Yeah, it's a desperate moment. I liked that a lot, too. All right, this one's real quick. What did you give up for the offerenda for Jackie, and why?
Oh, sorry. Say that one more time.
The offerenda.
Yeah, the offerenda for Jackie, his little funeral thing. What did you give up, and why did you think it fit the best?
I think my answer is going to be weak, but I picked everything up. They all seemed pretty good, actually, I thought.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They all had weight. I believe I went with the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I'm struggling to remember exactly why, but he wanted a drink named after him.
Yeah.
That seemed important enough to him. The toast being the final big moment, and him keeping this expensive, valuable vintage. That just seemed to mesh well together in my head, even though I probably didn't put as much thought into it as another person would.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, my answer is even weaker, and that is I never actually did his funeral.
Oh, damn. Jackie looking at you from beyond the grave.
I did it really late in the game.
That was one of the first things I did.
Long after he died, so that's why I think mine was
I remember
weak.
we were talking about that. That was like one of the few things we actually got a chance to discuss from within the game. And I just thought it would be just super hilarious to not even do it. So I never did his funeral.
You made a conscious effort to not do it?
Yeah.
It didn't just crop up like, oops, I didn't have time. You were just like, I'm not going to go.
Yep. Exactly.
My second choice would have been
Jackie.
the book. I say the second choice would have been the book. I'll give that in to cover for Kay not giving an answer.
That's very cool because my second choice was going to be the book too. But my first choice was the belt.
That was another good one.
Because I was like, that symbolized his first, realization of strength, and he needs that. He deserves to have that going forward. But I thought the book, because he always read it before a big job, and
that one has a lot of emotion behind it. It almost seemed too easy to pick that.
Totally. Yeah, it's a minor thing, but it's cool, interesting to discuss. Well, I think that's the end of those questions. I don't know, unless you guys have any final things, maybe we should give our final impressions of the game, our final words, and wrap it up.
I've been thinking hard on what I want to say to wrap up this chapter of our gaming experience. Yeah, I think all in all, it's a very solid game. It's got the makings to be the next Skyrim. It's plenty fun. It's got an awesome leveling system. pretty accurate to what, you could almost expect of the planet in 2077, maybe with a little bit of hyperbole and whatnot thrown in there. But pretty fun game. Currently, though, needs some optimization. The glitches are just the biggest thing that stand out. So until they really get those glitches done or glitches addressed, I think the game isn't going to be that much more enjoyable. It's just going to be, it's going to have that holding it back, I guess. So, yeah.
See?
Oh, yeah. This game, Cyberpunk, I guess I tried to have no expectations, but when the most hyped game of the decade, I guess, apparently no one can shut up about, it's hard not to hear some things. So it's weird, the setup coming into this thinking, if only briefly, that it was supposed to be some sort of immersive experience, and it felt like it was intended to be. But it failed spectacularly for a lot of reasons. This game isn't finished, and it's sad because I think there's a lot to enjoy, and it's really, really suffocated by all of its issues. So, I'd like to come back someday when it's worthy of what it set out to do when it reaches that point. But I don't know if I will, because it didn't leave a great taste in my mouth.
Fair enough. I guess it's somewhat similar here. I think we all share the same sentiment. I wish it was, not half-baked. I kind of wanted to, wait to play it, maybe wait a year or so, let all those patches get ironed out, or get all the patches to iron out the bugs, have a much more complete, cohesive experience, a lot less frustrating experience with the game. But overall, I think, the story is good. It's worth playing. I think it's a fun experience. I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of the game, but definitely needs a lot of polish. Needs a lot to be truly great. Mackenzie said something that stuck with me that I thought was really good, and it was it's as good as it is bad, and it's really bad. And I thought that was
Wow.
good.
That sums it all up in a nutshell.
Yeah.
If you can would you compare this maybe to like a bad movie?
No. Like a
Like
B movie?
B movie, like Troll 2, where it's like so bad you have to love it.
I'm not talking about the story, but is this a game where the glitches almost make you enjoy it more because they're funny or something?
Yeah, there could be that aspect if you can kind of remove yourself from the way the game kind of presents itself as this serious immersive thing.
Yeah, if the glitches didn't pose a threat to your completion of the game at times, then it certainly would have been a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But if it was just visual weirdness, then I would love it. But
yeah,
in reality, it just messes with your save files. It messes with your, it'll spontaneously kill you sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all over the place.
Those are common occurrences in Night City. Those are just things that happen.
Yeah.
Your first death to a glitch is V's real death, and that's my headcanon of V. The first time I fell through the floor, that really happened. That was my actual relic chip malfunction.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring this one to a close. It was a heavy one, a big one, a long one, big, huge game. Lots to talk about. I think we did a pretty decent job, but as with every other episode, we got to reveal what the next main episode is going to be about.
Yeah,
you guys have any idea?
Yeah, this one's coming from a specific source,
Yeah, because this Cyberpunk was a mutual pick, so that means that it's one of our personal picks next. Mm-hmm. And if I remember right, I think it might be Jay who gets to decide the personal pick this time.
I believe so.
In a private message, I believe Jay said, I want to pick another buggy, broken ass game for the next main title. So I'm really curious what it is.
So Jay picked Cyberpunk 2077 again. So we're going to play it again and just hope by the next month that they've ironed it out and make it a more complete experience. So we'll have a little bit more, we'll have more breadth, more experience to kind of build off from to have, further solidify our opinions. I think it'd be worth it.
This time I'm going to kiss Johnny's ass.
And this time I'm gonna break. I'm not gonna save Takemura, and I'm gonna kick Judy to the curb.
Hell yeah. Okay, good.
What are you gonna do this time, Kay?
This next time, I think I'm gonna try to get rehired at my corpo job. I'm gonna see if they'll take me back.
That's the ending. You don't even go to the heist. You just go back to your job.
Okay, but for real, for seriousness, me is picking a game near and dear to my heart that I want my boys to experience, called Shin Megami Tensei 4. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of a JRPG, super hardcore, demon fusing, demon killing, role-playing masterpiece. Yep. So I hope that my guys like it. I know that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is coming out soon, and maybe someday that would be another fun one to cover for the podcast if the chips fall in that direction. I'm hopefully pushing them to fall in that direction here by making everyone play Shin Megami Tensei 4 and, like it and have a good time, hoping that they do. But yeah, that's a big, heavy game. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk mechanics. There's a lot of fun builds and a lot of interesting interactions to go with in that game. Also, we got more content cooking up. We got the Genshin Impact podcast episode. 1.2 Blues is going to be coming out at some point.
1.2 Blues.
And, we'll be continuing our coverage of Genshin Impact as per usual. So yeah, I think that's about all for us, huh? Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to playing some SMT4. Yeah,
I'm excited for everyone to play.
Yes.
The music's bopping in that game. The combat is smooth and fun. It's gonna be like spreading butter on warm bread after playing this game.
Well, I certainly hope it lives up to the hype, all this hype that's surrounding it, and isn't delayed or a bit of a letdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no chance.
Well, then I'll see you for that one.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate you. We love you. Have a happy midnight.
Happy midnight.